Chapter 1380. The aura that leaked out from the pitch-black spatial tear put heavy pressure on everyone. Everyone within several million kilometers of Meteor Trail City felt like there was a dagger pressing down on their backs, not daring to move at all. Even Diwuk and Xiaoqun, who were walking on their Emperor's Road, felt some pressure. However, the two of them could not afford to be distracted. Their great tribulations of wind and fire were each more ferocious than the other. Diwuk glanced around and saw that Xiaoqun had only taken a few steps. He calmed down slightly. However, when Xiaoqun raised his head and looked at his 9-colored Emperor's Road, he, who had just taken 100 steps, immediately felt some despair. Of the 9,000 steps, Xiaoqun had not even walked a tenth of them, and he was already injured to such an extent. Can I really finish walking the legendary Emperor's Road, which is said to be the highest level? No, I cannot feel despair. I have to finish walking this Emperor's Road. This is my, Diwuk's last chance. The despair in Diwuk's heart only lasted for a moment before vanishing without a trace. Xiaoqun's gaze turned resolute and stubborn once more. His determination and desire for this Emperor's Road were no less than Xiaoqun's. Xiaoqun had only just started walking the 10,000 steps. This path was filled with many uncertain factors. Xiaoqun did not even know what would happen after he finished walking it. However, Xiaoqun's mentality was much better than Diwuk's. He did not have any messy thoughts. There was only one goal in his heart: to finish walking this bloody path. It did not matter if he became a demon or attained the Tao. On Haotian City's side, because of that mysterious energy, Ingzongtian, the Myriad Law Fiend Master, and the other primes gathered together. They all showed extremely grave expressions. Is that an aura surpassing prime? Ingzongtian asked uncertainly. The Fox King frowned and said, "It is impossible for the Kunlun realm to have an existence surpassing prime. That is impossible. What exactly is this?" That was right. The Thunder King was very strong. However, he did not surpass prime. Whether or not there was a pinnacle above the Supreme Being realm was still a question. However, the Kunlun realm did not have any existences that surpassed prime. Or rather, if one surpassed prime, they would not be able to remain in the Kunlun realm. This was 100% certain. The Myriad Law Fiend Master's normally calm expression turned somewhat grave at this moment. He sighed softly and said, "What if the existence in here came from the Kunlun realm in the first place?" The other primes suddenly recalled that the deity race was not a race of the Kunlun realm in the first place. They came from the mysterious outer domain. However, more than 100,000 years had passed, and the first generation of the god race had already died out. Could it be that the god race powerhouses of that generation still had a chance of survival? Xiao. Suddenly, a gaze shot out from the crack. The 4 primes sensed it at the same time, and instinctively looked in the direction of that gaze. Within the curved pitch-black crack, there was a world of its own. A dignified old man of the god race sat on a golden throne. He wore a crown on his head. There was an extremely ancient aura in that gaze. With just one look, one would believe that the old man on the throne was in existence on the level of a living fossil. Although the old man's aura was strong, the 4 primes could not feel any life force from him. It was like he was somewhere between life and death. Just as the 4 primes felt suspicious, they saw the old man on the throne wave the divine halberd in his hand. Scatter. The 4 primes sensed extreme danger at the same time. Their figures flashed, and they moved thousands of kilometers, rushing into the sky, wanting to fly into the starry heavens. Ever since they became supreme beings, the 4 of them had never felt such a dangerous feeling. It was inconceivable to the extreme. How did the primes move? Others could not even see their trajectories clearly. Just like that, these 4 primes ran into the sky. Pa! However, a huge, formless golden palm smashed down from the starry heavens. The 4 supreme beings each spat out a mouthful of blood as they were forcefully smacked down. Such a scene was very shocking. For primes were sent flying at the same time. No one could imagine such a scene. The heaven-punishing corpse god and the Dongyue ghost emperor were stunned. Primes were practically undefeatable in the Kunlun realm. However, today 4 primes were sent flying at the same time, severely injured. Was this the trump card of the deity race? This was simply too horrifying. Whoosh! Suddenly, Bolts of black lightning appeared in all directions in the sky for 5,000 kilometers around, roaring ferociously as they charged at the deity race old man in the crack. Emperor Forsaken's expression changed slightly. He had expected this long ago, so he quickly stopped summoning. The crack quickly mended and mended. However, several bolts of black lightning still charged in before the crack mended. This was the divine punishment of the heavenly Tao. The Kunlun realm could not allow existences surpassing primes to exist. Wuxia. Wuxia. Several bloody holes appeared on Emperor Forsaken's body. Blood gushed out like fountains, and his complexion paled. Brother Xingtian, hurry up. Ing Zongtian's group of 4 are already severely injured. Just one of you is enough to suppress them. Don't let them have any chance to counterattack. Emperor Forsaken said quickly and anxiously as he pressed on the acupoints of his body. Clearly, he paid a huge price this time. The heaven-punishing corpse god ignored the doubts in his heart. When he heard how anxious Emperor Forsaken was, he pushed off with his feet and chased after the 4 primes that were sent flying. Brother Qitian, make another move and directly break that Xiao Chen's Emperor's road. The Dongyue Ghost Emperor suggested after seeing the strength of that deity race old man. Emperor Forsaken shook his head. That is the body of my deity race old ancestor. After receiving the energy of millions of believers, he barely managed to leave behind a strand of his soul to live until now. His strength already surpassed that of a prime long ago, and is not compatible with the heavenly Tao. I cannot endure the lightning of the heavenly Tao's divine punishment a second time. Only now did the Dongyue Ghost Emperor notice Qitian's injuries. He asked, "Are you alright?" "I'm fine. All members of the deity Tao Union, heed my orders. Fight with all your might and kill Xiao Chun on his Emperor's road." With this command, the entire deity Tao Union's attack, which had stopped, ferociously charged over again, heading for Xiao Chen's bloody Emperor's road. Immediately, the sky became densely packed with figures. All the deity Tao Union cultivators, regardless of their cultivation, charged over. Block them. Although the 4 primes of the Haotian sect were not here, the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea, the Heavenly Province Academy, and the Holy Lord were. When they saw this scene, they immediately blocked the floodlight cultivators above the Emperor's door. At this moment, Mo Chun, Yu Bingyun, and Jiuan Shi Bai, and the others soared into the air as well, joining the group blocking the deity Tao Union. Under the 500,000 kilometers of bloody clouds, the largest chaotic battle since the fall of the Qing Emperor immediately unfolded. That was right. It was indeed a chaotic battle. Emperor Forsaken gave the order. All the cultivators of all sizes in the deity Tao Union participated in the battle. The Haotian sect's side was broken. Everyone fought. With so many people, the scene turned chaotic, completely uncontrollable. On the other hand, the 3 holy masters each guarded a side under the 9-colored clouds, preventing Diwuk's great tribulation of wind and fire from being interrupted at all. When Diwuk saw this scene, he felt even more confident on his Emperor's road. His cultivation seemed to be on the verge of a breakthrough. On the bloody Emperor's road, Xiao Chun was in a miserable state. Not only did he have to face the various wind tribulations on the bloody Emperor's road, but he also had to dodge the attacks of some deity Tao Union cultivators. Every step he took was extremely difficult. Even so, he continued to advance step by step, not feeling dispirited at all. The long-awaited bloody rain fell again. However, this time it was a true bloody rain. Along with the bloody rain were countless corpses falling from the sky on both sides of the bloody Emperor's road. There were corpses from the deity Tao Union's side and the Haotian sect's side. This chaotic battle was extremely intense. On the other side, the heaven-punishing corpse god fought 1 against 4. Indeed, it was as Emperor Forsaken said. The heaven-punishing corpse god held a great advantage, fighting to his heart's content. He laughed maniacally without end, completely suppressing the 4 primes. Ing Zongtian and the other 3 felt extremely sullen in their hearts. However, that heavenly deity's hand had shattered their hearts of an emperor, severely injuring them. The battle under the blood clouds was intense. Although the Haotian sect had fewer people and no primes, the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea, and the many holy lords of the heavenly starry ocean barely maintained a balance. The battle under the blood clouds was intense. Although the Hautian sect had fewer people and no primes, the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea and the many holy lords of the heavenly starry ocean barely maintained a balance. This did not cause the defensive line to crumble, resulting in large-scale attacks landing on the bloody Emperor's road. However, this balance would soon be broken. This was because the Dongyue Ghost Emperor, who was beside Emperor Forsaken, was about to make a move. When Emperor Forsaken saw the corpses continuously falling from the sky, and the scattering Emperor's essence after Emperor Wu died, Emperor Forsaken sighed. The heaven-abandoning deity sovereign sighed somewhat. He said softly, "Ghost Monarch, make your move. It is time to end all this." Void Scarlet Heaven Sword. Coiling Monarch Time Saber. Just at the most dangerous moment, a saber and a sword flew over from the distant sky. The saber and sword pierced through the sky. Everywhere they passed, they pierced through the corpses of countless deity Dao Union cultivators, heading for Emperor Forsaken. Saber Sword Two Sovereigns. The heaven-abandoning deity sovereign's expression turned stern, startled by his current condition. Given his current situation, it was not good for him to face two transcendent divine weapons at the same time. The Dongyue Ghost Emperor had to make a move to help. However, would the Ghost Emperor make a move? Even though they were on the same side, Emperor Forsaken did not feel confident. After all, this was a rare opportunity for him to fall. Chapter 1381. Summoning the deity race ancestor resulted in Emperor Forsaken suffering from the lightning of the heavenly Tao's divine punishment. Based on the hole in his chest that had yet to close, it was clear how severe his injuries were. The physical body of a prime was already incredibly strong. Even if one did not focus on cultivating the physical body, ordinary injuries could be healed in an instant. Even now, Emperor Forsaken still had not recovered. Clearly, he was severely injured. The Saber Sword Two Sovereigns' timing was very accurate. Emperor Forsaken could no longer dodge the attacks of these two transcendent divine weapons. Even if he did not die, he would lose his combat prowess and fall into extreme danger. At the crucial moment, the Dongyue Ghost Emperor stepped forward and shielded Emperor Forsaken, helping him receive the saber and sword. Dang! Amidst the deafening rumble, the space distorted and refracted. Strange cracks appeared, sending some of the people in the vicinity flying. Although the Dongyue Ghost Emperor, who caught the saber and sword, did not move back at all, blood leaked out of a corner of his lips. He was significantly injured. The Scarlet Heaven Sword and the Time Saber quickly bounced back. Two figures streaked across the sky and caught them, charging into the back of the nine-colored clouds. This was the first time outsiders barged into the area covered by the nine-colored clouds. Although the chaotic battle was intense and rumbling, it took place under the 500,000 kilometers of scarlet clouds. The three holy masters guarding Diwuk only took one look and did not move. This was because the Saber Sword Two Sovereigns were not looking for Diwuk. Instead, the Saber Sword Two Sovereigns charged into the back, targeting Emperor Forsaken. The Saber Sovereign Wu Xiaotian and the Sword Sovereign Lu Xiaoyan were the sovereign martial emperors closest to primes in the Kunlun realm. When the two worked together, in addition to their transcendent divine weapons, they could suppress a prime. The appearance of these two people caused the situation to return to a balanced state once again. This also made the mini-neutral Emperor Wu and the cultivators watching the excitement outside Meteor Trail City breathe nervously. The Saber Sword Two Sovereigns are here. Their tribulations really attracted the attention of the entire world. The number of major characters of the Kunlun realm who did not come can be counted on one hand. I wonder who will succeed in the tribulation first. Amid the rather calm discussions, Wu Xiaotian and Lu Xiaoyan pointed their transcendent divine weapons at the Dongyue Ghost Emperor and Emperor Forsaken. The Ghost Monarch said coldly, "Are the two of you tired of living?" The Ghost Monarch said coldly, "Are the two of you tired?" Lu Xiaoyan said calmly, "Ghost Monarch, the two of us do not have any other intentions. We just want to force the heaven-abandoning deity sovereign to stop here. If we continue, the Kunlun race world demon emperor will spirit, we will realm, demon god spirit realm, and race, world emperor king will demto world." Wu Xiaotian continued, "Don't forget about the 100 race war 100,000 years ago. It caused the Kunlun realm to fall from its peak to its current state. The Dongyue Ghost Emperor scolded, "Foolish! It is precisely because of the war with the deep abyss demonic world that we need to consolidate all our strength. This is the purpose of establishing the deity Dao Union. The Haotian sect is the first step for the deity Dao Union to unify the Kunlun realm. The two of you are really short-sighted. To think that you are not embarrassed to call yourselves the Saber Sword Two Sovereigns. Help me delay for 4 hours. I'll personally make a move and suppress these two reckless fellows." Emperor Forsaken's cold voice came from behind. Right after he spoke, black electric light suddenly leaped out of his body. The electric light exploded in the distant sky, blasting a huge hole in the sky. This was Emperor Forsaken seriously treating his injuries, trying to force out the heavenly Dao divine lightning in his body. As Emperor Forsaken sat down cross-legged, many small worlds appeared behind him. Countless believers prayed in the shrines in each small world. At this moment, the hundreds of lower realms that the deity race controlled and the shrines in the various parts of the Kunlun realm started pouring the power of faith into Emperor Forsaken. This was the strongest prime under the Thunder King. When Emperor Forsaken got serious, anyone would tremble in fear. Attack! The Saber Sword Two Sovereigns exchanged only one glance and immediately came to a tacit understanding. Xiaochen absolutely could not let the heaven-abandoning deity sovereign successfully treat his injuries. This was a great opportunity to get the deity Dao Union to stop. Working with the saber and the sword, the two quickly started fighting the Dongyue Ghost Emperor. The Dongyue Ghost Emperor fought 1 against 2. As he faced the two's storm-like attacks, he immediately felt heavy pressure. After the Dongyue Ghost Emperor and Emperor Forsaken were dragged into the battlefield, the entire Meteor Trail city descended into complete chaos. No one could remain unscathed. Xiaochen walked the bloody path with much difficulty. Unknowingly, he had already taken 1,000 steps. Of the 10,000 steps, there were still 9,000 steps left. It looked like he still had a long way to go. When Xiaochen crossed the 1,000 steps, a warm current appeared in the blood and marrow in his body. It felt warm and extremely comfortable. Invisibly, Xiaochen felt that the bloody path under his feet had improved his physical body significantly. His vital qi increased explosively. He gently clenched his 5 fingers, and his joints and bones crackled as dragons roared endlessly. Xiaochen's control of his vital qi was much easier than before. Before he even used his full power, he could already drive 100 dragon force. Could it be that with every step I take, my physical body will improve? After taking 1,000 steps, I will complete a cycle of accumulation? Xiaochen thought to himself. Then he looked at the bloody Emperor's road again, and excitement appeared in his eyes. There were still 9,000 steps left. That was to say, there were still 9 more chances for a metamorphosis. After the 9 metamorphoses, when I push open the Emperor's door and reconstruct the golden body, I wonder how much stronger I will become? With this thought, Xiaochen's fighting spirit became even stronger. Advance to Martial Emperor. Advance to Martial Emperor. I have to complete this bloody path. At the same time, Di Wuk, who had completed 1,500 steps, also felt the benefits of this 9-colored Emperor's road. Xiaochen's entire body gave off a 9-colored light. When he punched with his full power, he actually scattered a wind tribulation. How strong! My body actually underwent a metamorphosis. It turns out that this 9-colored Emperor's road has such benefits. My physical body has always been my weakness. After completing this Emperor's road, I will be able to contend with Xiaochen's physical body. Di Wuk rejoiced in his heart. The remaining Emperor's road would allow him to metamorphose another 5 more times. Xiaochen raised his head and looked at the Emperor's door. A murderous intent flashed in his eyes. Be it for himself or for the dead divine daughter, he needed to push open that Emperor's door. The 9-colored Emperor's road. This is heaven taking care of me. As long as I finish it, I will be able to personally kill Xiaochen. Boom. Boom. Thunder rumbled continuously in the sky. Bolts of divine punishment lightning were forced out of Emperor Forsaken's body. The Saber Sword Two Sovereigns worked together to suppress the Dongyue Ghost Emperor. Several saber wounds appeared on his body. However, Wu Xiaotian and Lu Xiaoyan could not bring themselves to smile. This was because Emperor Forsaken's complexion was turning increasingly better. The divine light on Emperor Forsaken's body had already condensed into a pillar of light soaring into the sky. The resplendent divine might caused winds to blow and clouds to churn, creating many mysterious phenomena. Boom! The heaven-abandoning deity sovereign finally forced out the final bolt of heavenly punishment lightning. Divine weapon Great Palm Imprint. Emperor Forsaken, who had been holding back his anger for a long time, suddenly stood up. He formed hand seals with both hands, and boundless mental energy spread out. Emperor Forsaken narrowed his eyes, and his strong mental energy turned into countless weapons flickering with divine light. They looked solid and surrounded the saber sword two sovereigns. Xiao, Xiao, Xiao. Countless tiny holes immediately appeared in space. The saber sword two sovereigns brandished their transcendent divine weapons and continuously blocked, giving off clanging sounds. The sound waves traveled far into the distance. Outside Meteor Trail City, several mountain ranges that rose and fell were shattered by the shock of the sound waves. Just the sound waves emitted were already so powerful. From this, it could be seen how powerful the psychic weapons that contained divine light were. Pa. While the two sovereigns defended, Emperor Forsaken and the Dongyue Ghost Emperor attacked together, each landing a palm strike on the two sovereigns. The two vomited blood as they flew back. The divine light weapons immediately pierced through their bodies, riddling them with wounds. The two primes stood side by side, looking coldly at Wu Xiaotian and Lu Xiaoyan. Even if you have transcendent divine weapons, you are still far from being able to fight with primes. Emperor Forsaken mocked. After exhausting the power of faith from tens of thousands of deities Templars for 4 hours, he had mostly recovered from his injuries. I'll go and kill Xiaochun. I'll have to trouble Brother Qitian with these two, the Dongyue Ghost Emperor said. The East Mountain Ghost Monarch said, I'll kill Xiaochun personally. This time, I have to ensure that nothing goes wrong. I'll personally chop off his Emperor's road. Decisiveness flashed in Emperor Forsaken's eyes. He had already lost his patience long ago. Right now, Ingzongtian and the other 3 primes were being suppressed by the heaven-punishing corpse god in a sorry state. Now that the saber sword 2 sovereigns were injured, the Dongyue Ghost Emperor could deal with them. It looked like no one could stop him from making a move on Xiaochun. At this moment, Xiaochun had gone through a lot of hardships and walked 3,000 steps. Now he was experiencing the fire tribulation. Xiaochun already found it hard to walk in the dense blazing divine flame. Furthermore, he still had to deal with the attacks of Emperor Wu. This was undoubtedly adding fuel to the fire. However, an even greater danger had arrived. A prime without any fear was about to make a move on Xiaochun, wanting to personally kill him on his Emperor's road. After taking another step, before Xiaochun could relax, he suddenly felt an extremely bad premonition. Xiaochun's heart sank. When he looked up, he saw another huge finger piercing through the sky, heading for him. Dang! Xiaochun did his best to block with his saber. However, the difference in strength was too great. Although he managed to block that finger by a hair's breadth, Xiaochun's footing was unstable. However, his footing was unstable, and he fell, tumbling down the burning, bloody path. Chapter 1382. Xiaochun's physical body had already undergone 4 metamorphoses. Now that he faced Emperor Forsaken's gigantic finger again, he could already resist it somewhat. This strike was not enough to kill Xiaochun. However, the impact was too great. Xiaochun tumbled on the Scarlet Emperor's road covered in flames. The flames burned, and the pain of all sorts of injuries assaulted him, inflicting unbearable pain on Xiaochun. He clenched his teeth and did his best not to cry out. Dang! The lunar shadow saber stabbed into the Emperor's road, stopping the rapidly falling Xiaochun. As though he had a premonition, Xiaochun suddenly moved to the left. The instant his feet left the ground, a figure suddenly appeared. Just as his foot left the ground, that gigantic finger descended again, landing right where Xiaochun was originally. When the gigantic finger landed, it generated a strong shock wave. However, the entire Emperor's road did not move at all, not trembling at all. He dodged. Emperor Forsaken exclaimed in shock. For the sake of maintaining absolute speed, He had already sacrificed a significant amount of offensive power. However, Xiaochen actually managed to dodge. In reality, Xiaochen could no longer see the trajectory of the other party's attack. He dodged purely based on his instincts. Amid the fierce flames, Xiaochen spread out his Taiji saber domain and executed the fish dragon step. His figure flickered as he continued forward step by step, not feeling discouraged at all. Xiaochen had only one thought in his heart. Keep going. No matter how bad the external situation was, he could not give up hope. In a breath's time, Xiaochen returned to the steps he had taken before he fell. When he looked up, he had already traversed more than a third of the 10,000 steps. If there were no external interference, Xiaochen would have been able to go very far. Raising his leg, Xiaochen dragged his crippled body and decisively headed for the next step. The instant he took his first step on the scarlet steps, a boundless flame immediately ignited. Boundless flames immediately ignited, and within the flames, 3 ferocious fire spirits emerged. These fire spirits were as strong as Emperor Wu. Furthermore, they did not have a physical body and were extremely difficult to deal with. As Xiaochen resisted the burning of the flames, he fought with the 3 fire spirits. At the same time, he had to raise his focus, paying attention to the heaven-abandoning deity sovereign's gigantic finger that could descend at any moment. His stamina and mental strength had been greatly depleted, causing him to be extremely exhausted. Bang! Bang! Saber intent surged. After killing the 3 fire spirits with much difficulty, Xiaochen was about to take the next step. Damn it! The giant finger descended again. Xiaochen frowned and was forced to take 3 steps back. Thud thud thud. This time, Emperor Forsaken attacked continuously, forcing Xiaochen to retreat a full 500 steps. Immediately, Xiaochen advanced and retreated with great difficulty. The speed of his emperor's road slowed down completely. Fuck, this is too shameless. A celestial emperor, using such a method to deal with a junior's tribulation. However, you have to admit that this method is brilliant. There is no need to worry about getting too close. He does not have to worry about getting too close to Xiaochen's great tribulation of wind and fire. At the same time, he can exhaust Xiaochen and easily drag Xiaochen to death on this emperor's road. Indeed, a person's physical strength is not limitless. Under such pressure, Xiaochen's mind and body could collapse at any moment. On the bloody emperor's road, Xiaochen's simple actions actually put him under tremendous pressure at every moment. Many of the cultivators watching in the periphery of Meteor Trail City spoke up, feeling pity for Xiaochen. They seemed to empathize with Xiaochen's difficulties, shaking their heads and sighing. Emo-chen had been paying attention to Xiaochen's tribulation at all times. When she saw this scene, she became somewhat anxious. Dang! A melodious sound rang out. It was Yu Bingyan flying forward and blocking a saber strike for Emo-chen. Don't get distracted. All we can do now is help him push back some of the deity Dao Yunyan's Emperor Wu. If he dies, his mental state will fall into chaos. Yu Bingyan, who held the Wind Shadow Sword, showed worry on her face. However, she still tried to explain things to Emo-chen. In a chaotic battle, one could not afford to get distracted. Emo-chen nodded and thanked Yu Bingyan, then stopped watching. However, she still could not avoid the worry in her heart. Emperor Forsaken revealed a calm smile. Right now he was no longer in a rush. This feeling of having everything under control was always the best. As long as this dragged on, Xiaochen would definitely burn to death on his emperor's road in another half an hour. No matter how strong one's will was, the body of flesh and blood was not made of steel. Who could block the heaven-abandoning deity sovereign? Ing Zongtian, the myriad law fiend master, the cyclic astral lord, and the fox king attacked again, trying to break through the heaven-punishing corpse god's blockade. Alas, that god race old ancestors' peak strike that surpassed a prime being's had seriously injured them. Even if they worked together, they were not a match for the heaven-punishing corpse god in his peak state. When the heaven-punishing corpse god saw the scene on the bloody road, he smiled calmly and said, "The 4 of you, you should just let go. If you continue fighting like this, your cultivation will be affected." The cracks in the heart of an emperor should have been fixed immediately. However, the 4 who were fighting did not stop. If this continued, The cracks in the heart of an emperor would only grow larger until they could no longer be fixed. The cyclic astral lord's eyes flickered. Hesitation appeared in his star-like eyes. What should we do? Xiaoqun can't hold on for much longer. The cyclic astral lord said somewhat anxiously to Zongtian. Quickly think of something. Did the Thunder King not give you any trump cards before he left? Zongtian showed a complicated expression. After some thought he replied, he did. However, we cannot use it now. It is not time yet. The cyclic astral lord also hesitated in his heart. Should he use the trump card that the Thunder King left behind now? However, the Thunder King had repeatedly instructed him not to use that trump card until the very last moment. The Myriad Law Fiend Master said indifferently. If we cannot use it, then don't use it. Whether we succeed or fail, everything depends on fate. We just have to do our best. That's right. Even the junior Xiaoqun did not give up. We cannot give up either. Heaven Punishing Corpse, don't be arrogant. Infected by Xiaoqun's spirit, the Fox King shouted and revealed his true form. A jade-green nine-tailed spirit fox radiating overwhelming fiendish chi appeared. Its scarlet eyes looked coldly at the heaven-punishing corpse god as it roared. The cyclic astral lord hesitated for a while before finally making up his mind to continue fighting. He had already invested so much. He could not bear to give up now. A resplendent star chart slowly floated out of his palm. Zongtian waved his hand, and a radiant Haotian sword appeared in his palm. The heaven-punishing corpse god's expression changed slightly. He said gravely, "It looks like you are serious. In that case, I will not show mercy." After saying that, a huge black axe appeared in the heaven-punishing corpse god's hand. Boom! The mysterious phenomenon in the sky underwent a startling change. The heavy clouds scattered and churned. When one looked up, one could see the stars, sun, and moon. When the saber-sword two sovereigns, who were fighting with the Dongyue Ghost Emperor, saw this scene, they exchanged glances and said, "Let's do our best as well." Right after they spoke, the Void Sword and the Time Saber Sword intersected. The strong saber domain and sword domain merged, forming a unique comprehension of the saber and the sword. Damn it! Do you really think that I'm afraid? The Dongyue Ghost Emperor's face sank. He opened his mouth and spat out a dark spirit pearl. Inside the transparent bead, there were countless ghosts floating around, exuding terrifying resentment and anger. Whoosh! This was the 10,000 spirit pearl. It contained the aggrieved spirits of more than 10,000 experts. With a thought, it could gather 10,000 spirits and form a clone with the same cultivation as the user. This was the Dongyue Ghost Emperor's absolute trump card. He would not use it unless he had no other choice. Go all out. Emperor Forsaken is too much of a bully. When the people of the Haotian sect who were fighting under the blood clouds saw Xiaoqun's situation, their eyes turned bloodshot, and they went somewhat berserk. Even the normally docile Bai had tears in his eyes. His killing intent spread out, looking extremely terrifying. The chaotic battle, which was already cruel in the first place, became even more intense. Blood splattered everywhere, and the rain of blood became even more intense. Is there any use? Before absolute strength, no matter how unwilling you are, you will have to accept your death. Die. The heaven-abandoning deity sovereign said coldly and emotionlessly. Then he waved his finger and suddenly brought out his full power. In an instant, a divine might soared into the sky. He had predicted that Xiaoqun would no longer be able to receive this finger attack. Despair flashed in the eyes of the exhausted Xiaoqun. He could no longer dodge this finger attack. Crack! Xiaoqun was sent flying. His body shattered like glass, and his life aura quickly disappeared. Chapter 1383. Am I going to die? At this moment, Xiaoqun did not feel any pain or hear any sound. The scene before him turned black and white. He saw the tears in Mo Chen's eyes, Yu Bingyun crying, and by charging over without a care for anything else. There was also Fang Baiyu, and Juanxi, Yi Chun, and the other good friends and seniors who fought for Xiaoqun. All of them revealed incredulous expressions. All along, Xiaoqun had been blessed with great luck. He had survived many calamities and survived until now. However, this time, when facing Emperor Forsaken's attack, Xiaoqin, who was on the Emperor's road, could not dodge, no matter how great his luck was. This journey was simply too difficult. From the Sky Dome realm to the Kunlun realm. From an unknown Haotian sect disciple to the white-robed bladesman. Then the famous Blue Dragon King. Xiaoqin felt somewhat tired. He still remembered that when he first came to the Kunlun realm, he was just a nameless nobody. The 7 giants of the Tianwu domain were aloof existences. Just one by Wuxia alone placed immense pressure on him. Xiaoqin also remembered the first time he met Diwuk in Kunlun Mountain's Heavenly Dew Divine Lake, the other party's arrogance and strength. There were too many things of the past that appeared vividly in Xiaoqin's mind. At this moment, before he died, time seemed to pass very slowly. All sorts of scenes flashed in his mind. There was his beloved Lu Ruyue, his most beautiful friend, Emo Chun, and his father, Xiao Xiong, whom he had already reconciled with. Dissatisfied, truly dissatisfied, falling at the final step, dying on this Emperor's road. As Xiaoqin looked at the blood-paved Emperor's road and the not-too-distant Emperor's door, too much dissatisfaction gathered in his heart. Some wanted to cry, while others wanted to laugh. When the deity Dao Yunyan's side saw Xiaoqin's life force continuously diminish, they revealed expressions of wild joy. He revealed an expression of wild joy. They won. With Xiaoqin dead, the Supreme Sky Sect's morale would plummet, losing all their fighting spirit. The reason was none other than losing a goal to strive for. Who could still fight with conviction? Before he died, Xiaoqin saw everything. His heart, which had always been calm and indifferent, was now boiling with excitement. Did he still remember his dream? Did he still remember the promise he made in Qingyan Peak? Should he give up? No. Never. The road to heaven, the Emperor's door. Our blood will last forever, and we will not rest until we die. The never-fading brilliance buried in the bottom of his heart flowed through his body, the never-extinguishing hot blood. Xiaoqin couldn't make a sound, but he used his actions to prove his determination. The lunar shadow saber stabbed into the Scarlet Emperor's road with a clang, stopping its falling body. His body was already broken like glass. His flesh, blood, and bones danced in the air like fragments, and then were eroded by the flames. The life force in Xiaoqin's body was slowly disappearing. No matter how one looked at it, Xiaoqin was a dead man. However, despite being in such a state, Xiaoqin dragged his crippled body and continued walking forward on the bloody Emperor's road. Emperor Forsaken hesitated for a while before stopping in the end. He had not fallen to the point of making a move against a dead person. Xiaoqin's consciousness grew increasingly blurry, and the scene turned increasingly hazy. After a while, all the life force in his crippled body vanished. Plop! Plop! Xiaoqin's body fell over, landing on the blazing scarlet path. No. Emo Chun, Yu Bingyan, and the other girls lost control of their emotions as they cried out in a daze. Many figures rushed towards the Emperor's road involuntarily. However, before they could get close, an invisible force knocked them back. The bloody Emperor's road was a place that even Emperor Forsaken could not get close to. How could others barge in? Dead. Xiaoqin is thoroughly dead. Under the scarlet clouds, the intense chaotic battle stopped. Everyone turned their gazes towards the road of Emperor. As they looked at the corpses on the road of Emperor, their gazes were complicated. Even the Blue Dragon King's opponents and enemies could not help but admire Xiaoqin. He was indeed a man. Xiaoqin's luck was overwhelming, and he was startlingly talented. However, he was surrounded by enemies. This bloody Emperor's road was simply too difficult. The death of the Blue Dragon King marked the end of an era, the fall of a legend. Chapter 1384. Kill. The rage of all the outstanding primes of the Haotian sect's emperor, Wu all turned into the word kill. An overwhelming killing intent spread out in the blood clouds. This made the thick blood clouds even more viscous, looking like a sea of blood with countless waves. The sea of blood hung upside down, materializing boundless mysterious phenomena. Lightning, aggrieved spirits, lotus flowers, sword chi, saber intent, and many others. An even crazier battle than before started. The Haotian sect's side completely forgot about life and death, sinking into some sort of frenzied state. The strong aura frightened the deity Dao Yunyan's cultivators into not daring to clash head-on. Emperor Forsaken frowned slightly. He did not make a move, coldly watching these crazy people. Be it Zongtian, Emochun, or the others, in his opinion, their efforts were futile. No matter how strong one's aura was, it was only temporary. When the divine son Diwuk pushed open that emperor's door, this farce would slowly come to an end. After that, the deity Dao Yunyan would expand its faction step by step until it unified the entire Kunlun realm. This was a dream that the deity race's ancestors had not been able to accomplish for hundreds of thousands of years. However, for some reason, Xiaochen kept feeling that something was wrong. However, he could not put his finger on what exactly was wrong. Xiaochen was already dead. On that bloody Emperor's Road, he turned into ashes, utterly dead. Diwuk had inherited a great luck and gained an epiphany. His chances of completing his Emperor's Road immediately increased significantly. However, Xiaochen still felt that something was wrong. He frowned heavily, unable to relax. Finally, Xiaochen knew what was wrong. That bloody path to the heavens had not been severed. The Scarlet Emperor's door still existed in the world. The deity Dao Yunyan's side continuously retreated. The battle spread from the blood clouds to the 9-colored clouds. However, Emperor Forsaken did not care. His gaze narrowed to a line. Xiaochen's strong mental energy broke through the obstruction of the Emperor's Road, and saw the final step of Xiaochen's corpse turning into ashes. There was a saber stabbed into the ground, and beside the saber were 2 rings. One of them was the universe ring that Xiaochen always wore. Emperor Forsaken recognized it. The other one was old and plain. Even in the midst of the flames, it was not eye-catching. What is this ring? Emperor Forsaken whispered to himself. Apparently, he had noticed the strangeness of the ring. He released his spiritual energy with all his might. Hua! It was as if the scene on the Emperor's Road had appeared in front of him, down to the finest detail. He finally saw a trace of suspicion in the simple and unadorned ring. Dragon. The inner ring was engraved with a blue dragon. It looked ordinary on the outside, without any luster. However, within the inner ring, the blue dragon was shining brilliantly, its radiance even more dazzling than the surrounding flames. He sent out a strand of his divine sense into the inner ring, and saw a treasure hall inside the ring. Blue Dragon Palace. Emperor Forsaken could not help exclaiming excitedly. The Blue Dragon Palace contained the greatest secret of the Qing Emperor. It was mysterious and unfathomable, even more mysterious than the Qing Emperor. It was a forbidden land that primes like them wanted to set foot in. Unfortunately, the outer formation involved the changes of time and space. Even Emperor Forsaken did not dare to barge in. If it were just a spatial formation, it would be fine. Given Emperor Forsaken's attainments in the state of space and his strong strength, he could barge in. The difficult part was the time formation. That was not something that Emperor Forsaken could understand. However, this ring clearly had something to do with the Blue Dragon Palace. If Emperor Forsaken could obtain it, he might be able to enter unscathed and obtain the secrets of the Blue Dragon Palace. Then, Emperor Forsaken withdrew his gaze and glanced at the heaven-punishing corpse god, and the Dongyue Ghost Emperor. Greed flashed in his eyes. Emperor Forsaken did not want to tell anyone this secret. That's not right. I forgot about the proper matter. Why did the Emperor's Road not break? Distracted by the ring, Emperor Forsaken did not notice that aside from the lunar shadow saber and the 2 rings, there was a weak heavenly snow divine flame there. The heavenly snow divine flame merged with the blazing flames. A mysterious seed was wrapped in the divine flame. Emperor Forsaken swept his gaze over again. However, he did not discover the mysterious phenomenon of the divine flame. A clump of divine flame was not rare on the Emperor's Road. Never mind. As long as Wuxia can finish his Emperor's Road, everything else does not matter. The reason why the Emperor's Road did not break might be because this bloody Emperor's Road is too strange. Emperor Forsaken shook his head and stopped thinking about it. He attributed the reason why the Emperor's Road did not break to Xiaochen's Emperor's Road being too special. On the 9-colored Emperor's Road, Diwuk was currently in high spirits. His sudden epiphany suddenly allowed his strength to soar explosively. Xiaochen's original weakness, which was lacking in accumulations, immediately made up for it. His injuries also completely healed. As Xiaochen walked, he moved like a dragon or a tiger. 9-colored auspicious clouds surrounded him, and divine music continuously rang out. With every step he took, he punched, shattering all sorts of flames. When Xiaochen punched, there was a resonant divine music singing immortal songs echoing in the sky, recounting the glory, and legend of the ancient deities. Emperor Forsaken smiled faintly and said, "This sudden epiphany really came at the right time. I have completely grasped the myriad heaven divine fist. I can borrow the power of the deities and gather it in my fists. With the help of my deity race's deity ancestors, I have nothing to fear from this great tribulation of wind and fire." Diwuk's aura turned increasingly sharp. As his white hair fluttered, he looked very handsome and sharp. As Xiaochen walked forward step by step, after 6,000 steps, the mysterious phenomenon around him, the thousands of deity images, turned increasingly realistic. How fast! Diwuk's wind tribulation and fire tribulation are coming together. He will probably have to slow down a little. This Diwuk is really good. At first, no one thought highly of him. However, he managed to reach this step without anyone noticing. I see an era coming to an end. Diwuk's future is limitless. Just as the cultivators in the periphery of Meteor Trail City discussed whether Diwuk should slow down a little, the various mysterious phenomena around Diwuk directly materialized a divine kingdom. The various mysterious phenomena around Diwuk directly materialized a divine kingdom, the vague form of a small world. Countless believers lived in the divine kingdom. Billions of believers sang at the same time, praising the deities. The light looked like ribbons fluttering behind Diwuk. Ding, ding, dang, dang. As the ribbons fluttered, the poems of praise swayed in the wind, making everyone's mind dance along with them. Whoosh! The Great Tribulation of Wind and Fire came first, then the Great Tribulation of Wind and Fire. Diwuk experienced 3,000 kinds of wind and 3,000 kinds of fire before finally welcoming the Great Tribulation of Wind and Fire. When Xiaochen took a step forward, the wind and fire merged into a formless demonic creature that launched itself at him. Bang! Xiaochen punched, and the billions of believers in the divine kingdom sang in unison. Xiaochen directly shattered this formless demonic creature, turning it into wind and fire and vanishing into the air. Such a scene was very shocking. No one expected Diwuk to still be so strong even after the Great Tribulation of Wind and Fire arrived together. He can't block it anymore. Diwuk's current strength is too horrifying. He will not have any problems completing his Emperor's Road. How unfortunate. If Xiaochen had not died, and he had not inherited Xiaochen's great luck, given his accumulations he would have burned to death on his Emperor's Road. There is no need to say anything. The dead cannot be revived. In the end, Diwuk will have the last laugh. After Diwuk brought out the might of the myriad heaven divine fist to its limits, he was simply like a deity descending to the world. Like a hot knife cutting through butter, he advanced rapidly. Xiaochen approached the peak step by step, approaching the Emperor's door that all cultivators dreamed of. Just as everyone's attention was on Diwuk, on a mountain peak several million kilometers away from Meteor Trail City, two figures suddenly descended. Suddenly, two figures descended. They were a man and a woman. The man carried a sword on his back and had a relaxed expression. He was handsome and had an innate aura of calmness. However, when he stood next to the woman, his elegance was completely overshadowed, making him unremarkable. There were no words in the world that could describe the woman's appearance. That was a face that would move any man. If one looked carefully, one would discover that the man did not even glance at the woman out of the corner of his eye. Chapter 1385. A man and a woman stood on the summit. They were none other than Chu Chaoyan and the demon monarch Leng Yu. Leng Yu's charming air seemed to have improved imperceptibly again. This resulted in Chu Chaoyan not daring to get too close to her, even hiding his peripheral vision. Are you sure that Xiaochen is not dead? A murderous intent slowly surged in the demon monarch Leng Yu's cold eyes. An overwhelming storm brewed. Chu Chaoyan nodded and said, "Naturally. If a cultivator dies, the Emperor's Road will definitely collapse. No matter what Emperor's Road it is the same. The reason why I cannot sense Xiao Chen's aura of life now is that he must be using some other method to survive on the Emperor's Road. What method? Chu Chaoyan smiled helplessly. I just arrived and need to observe for a while. I really don't understand you. I'm not even in a rush, yet you are in such a rush, directly rushing to the Kunlun realm from the battlefield. If the other demon monarchs find out, there will be big trouble. It's none of your business, Leng Yu said indifferently. Leng Yu said indifferently. Her gaze had been searching for something on the Scarlet Emperor's Road. However, she could not find anything. Found it. A golden flame danced in Chu Chaoyan's eyes as he revealed a smile on his face. A flame was reflected in his eyes. A seed was slowly sprouting in the flame, looking like it would bloom at any moment. Where is it? Leng Yu asked somewhat excitedly, somewhat unable to suppress her emotions. Diwuk gave her a strange look. Then he stretched out his hand and pointed. The scene of the heavenly snow divine flame enveloping the mysterious seed appeared before the two. The Adumbra flower, Leng Yu said softly. Her anxious heart relaxed somewhat. However, the worry on her face did not lessen. When the Adumbra flower bloomed, a holy king would appear. The instant the flower bloomed, a powerful holy king would undergo a nirvanic rebirth, appearing in the world while bathed in a Buddhist light. However, it would be extremely difficult for the flower to bloom. Only a true holy king could make the Adumbra flower bloom and shed its leaves. Could Xiaochen do it? Unlike Leng Yu, Chu Chaoyan's gaze was focused on the heavenly snow divine flame. At a glance, he could tell that this was a primal chaos flame that was on the same level as the heavenly flame. It was just that it was too weak right now, and could not be compared to the terrifying heavenly flame. However, given time, this flame would grow stronger, and its might would not be much weaker than the heavenly flame. Chu Chaoyan retracted his gaze and said, "Let's go. This place is too close. We have to be careful." Wait a moment. Leng Yu felt resentment in her heart. Her eyes suddenly turned blurry. Her eyes, which were filled with temptation, bloomed with thousands of beautiful flowers. Chu Chaoyan glanced at it, and his expression changed slightly. He quickly looked away. Myriad flower eyes, what are you doing? Leave a gift for Emperor Forsaken. In the distance on the 9-colored Emperor's Road, the White Tiger Holy Lord, who was protecting Diwuk, felt a gaze on him. For some reason he suddenly wanted to see this gaze, so he turned his head back to look. With just one glance, he could no longer look away. His entire mind was drawn to it. Leng Yu's complexion slowly paled. Thousands of flowers bloomed continuously in her eyes, their colors changing without stopping. Boom! Under the 9-colored clouds, the White Tiger Holy Lord suddenly burst out, bringing along the White Tiger Totem Holy Beast, and smashing a palm strike at Emperor Forsaken. At this moment, Emperor Forsaken's attention was focused on the bloody Emperor's Road. He had not expected the White Tiger Holy Lord to attack him. Caught off guard and at such a close distance, this palm strike, which could roar the mountains and rivers, landed on Emperor Forsaken in the blink of an eye. Emperor Forsaken went flying, vomiting a mouthful of blood. The peak strike of the 9th Heaven Emperor, who was not easy to deal with. What's wrong with me? After the palm strike, the White Tiger Holy Lord immediately came to his senses. When he saw what he had done, he immediately felt his hair stand on end, not daring to believe it. Emperor Forsaken showed a sullen expression as he wiped off the blood at the corner of his lips. He said, "Someone charmed you." Emperor Forsaken felt depressed in his heart. The instant he saw the White Tiger Holy Lord's eyes, he understood what was going on. The White Tiger Holy Lord's expression changed. Someone who could charm him, even if it was just for an instant, had to be a demon monarch. Emperor Forsaken turned his head back and spread out his vast mental energy. When Xiaochen landed on that mountain, he immediately sensed the auras left by Leng Yu and Chu Chaoyan. He could not help frowning slightly. After a while he muttered, "Demon Monarch Leng Yu?" Although the 9th Heaven Emperor Wu's palm strike was not easy to deal with, it was not enough to injure Xiaochen. After the Demon Monarch Leng Yu made her move, she immediately vanished. What was she trying to do? Why does it feel like she simply has resentment in her heart and wants to vent it? Emperor Forsaken was not surprised that the people of the demonic world made a move. He had even prepared several backup plans to deal with the appearance of a demon monarch. However, he was puzzled by what the Lung Yu Devil Queen had done. "Don't let me catch you," Emperor Forsaken said coldly, no longer thinking about it. Whoosh! Just at this moment, 9-colored spiritual rain suddenly fell from the sky. Dense spiritual energy and 9-colored light drifted around. Wonderful music rang out in the world, moving and ethereal, moving one's heart and enjoying it. It was Diwuk taking the final 100 steps on his Emperor's Road. Heaven and earth sang praises for him. Every step he took during the final 100 steps would be accompanied by countless hymns of praise and raindrops of 9 colors. Praises of heaven and earth. It truly lives up to being a 9-colored Emperor's Road. Such a mysterious phenomenon can appear. This is an eye-opener. There are only the final 100 steps before he can push open the Emperor's door. I really want to know what kind of scene it will be after the 9-colored Emperor's door opens. Amid the discussions of the crowd, the praises of the divine kingdom behind him, and the wonderful music of the world, Diwuk walked forward step by step in high spirits. Advanced to martial Emperor. A stubborn light flickered in Diwuk's eyes. He suppressed his excitement and quickly walked forward step by step. Right now, Xiao Chen's aura was extremely sharp and unparalleled. He was like a living deity, so strong that it was scary. As he underwent his tribulation, he actually grew stronger. When the Haotian sect's people saw this scene, despair appeared in their eyes. Ingzongtian, are you still going to continue fighting? Of the 4 primes, although the cyclic astral lord held back, the remaining 3 primes fought him with all their might, putting immense pressure on him. The cyclic astral lord's body was already covered in wounds. Right now his injuries were significant. Seeing that Diwuk was about to advance to martial emperor, the heaven-punishing corpse god spoke up again. The cyclic astral lord's eyes flickered. He hesitated for a moment, wanting to say something. However, he did not say anything in the end. Boom. Just as Ingzongtian was about to reply, Diwuk happened to finish the final step of his Emperor's Road. He gently pushed, and the 9-colored Emperor's door suddenly opened. Immediately, resplendent 9-colored light came from the world behind the door. Bathed in the 9-colored light, Diwuk looked like the sun, giving off a light that no one dared to look directly at. Everyone was attracted by the 9-colored light. They all looked over and sighed in amazement. Behind the Emperor's door, there seemed to be the vague existence of a deity, emitting a 9-colored glazed light. Whoosh! However, just as Diwuk was about to enter the Emperor's door, a scarlet light suddenly descended from the sky. The scarlet light filling the sky was incredibly dense. When it shone on Diwuk, it completely overshadowed the 9-colored light of the Emperor's door. The Emperor's door lost all its splendor, losing all its brilliance. What's going on? Such a mysterious phenomenon startled everyone. Even the heaven-abandoning deity sovereign was stunned. To think that there would be a scarlet light that completely overshadowed the resplendent light behind the Emperor's door. At Diwuk's most glorious moment, this scarlet light overshadowed all of his brilliance. Ingzongtian thought of something and immediately looked at the Scarlet Emperor's Road. At some point in time, scarlet flower petals drifted up, looking holy and flawless strange. Scarlet Adumbra flower? Chapter 1386. Blood-red light descended from the sky, blotting out the sun. The Emperor's door that belonged to Diwuk should have shone brightly, receiving everyone's attention. But at this moment, he was completely submerged in the red light. He couldn't even see his figure clearly. He didn't even know where the Emperor's door was. What's going on? Big brother Xiaochen has come back to life? Emo-chan, whose eyes were red from crying, felt somewhat excited and expectant. Even her voice trembled. The dead can be resurrected? That's impossible, right? That's definitely not it. Something strange must have happened to the Emperor's Road. A dead person is like an extinguished lamp. How could he come back to life? It's impossible. The Haotian sect's people all appeared excited. They cast aside the deity Dao Union's cultivators and looked in the direction of the bloody Emperor's Road. Countless blood-colored flower petals fluttered on both sides of the 10,000 steps, leading to the emperor's road to heaven. A pure and holy aura flew out from the petals. Faintly, one could even hear some Buddhist scriptures floating along with the petals. A Dumbra flower? Emperor Forsaken frowned and asked in confusion. The Dongyue Ghost Emperor, who had stopped fighting the saber and sword twin sovereigns due to the appearance of the bloody light, landed beside Emperor Forsaken and nodded. It is indeed the petals of the Adumbra flower. However, according to the records, this Buddhist sacred flower is white. It is a little strange. Buddhism's three great sacred flowers. The lotus flower cultivates the Taoist divine powers, the Bodhi tree comprehends the Tao, and the sage king is born. Can this Adumbra flower really allow a person to undergo nirvanic rebirth after blooming? There's a saying in the Buddhist scriptures that the Adumbra flower is an auspicious saying. Once every 10,000 years, a sacred king would be reborn. The Buddhists regard virtue as sacred, and this flower is for people who have great merit and virtue. Could it be that Xiaoqun is one of them? Unexpectedly, Emperor Forsaken's mood did not fluctuate much at this moment. He mumbled to himself as if he was answering his own question, but at the same time, he seemed to be talking to the Dongyue Ghost Emperor. At this moment, his emotions were indescribably complicated. Xiaoqun had brought him too many surprises. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he was numb. After so much effort, he finally killed this person. But who would have thought that the Adumbra flower, one of the three holy masters of Buddhism, would actually be on Xiaoqun, and it seemed like it could really bloom for him. The Dongyue Ghost Emperor remained silent. At this moment, he felt a little tired. He had thought that conquering the Haotian sect was just a small matter. He had never thought that it would cause such a huge commotion. In the end, the situation went out of control, attracting the attention of the entire Kunlun realm. The battle with the saber and sword two kings was even more exhausting, and it consumed a great deal of his mental energy. Facing two peak sovereign martial emperors who wielded transcendent divine weapons and did not fear death was truly tiring. Even a prime would feel mentally fatigued. Qitian, let's take a look at his emperor's road first. Get the deity Dao Union's people to withdraw. Too many people have died already, the Dongyue Ghost Emperor said. In the chaotic battle, it was unknown how many experts of the various races had died. A sea of blood covered the entire Astral River City. This was all Emperor Wu's blood, a terrifyingly thick one. After a long silence, Emperor Forsaken revealed a hesitant expression in his complicated eyes. Withdraw then. The will of this powerful expert, the strongest existence under the Thunder King, finally wavered. Furthermore, Diwuk had already advanced to Martial Emperor, and Xiaoqun's situation was still unknown. Indeed, the deity Dao Union should not have any more casualties. With the deity Dao Union's order, all the cultivators of the deity Dao Union heaved a sigh of relief. They quickly retreated like the receding tide. In merely a few breaths, they had all retreated far away. The speed of this retreat was very strange. This showed how much pressure this group of people was under. The strange change this time surpassed all the previous ones, no matter who it was. Even those primes and sovereign martial emperors felt their heads buzzing. The legendary flower appeared in reality. The scarlet light it brought actually eclipsed the light of the nine-colored Emperor's Gate. The neglected Diwuk felt very depressed at this moment. There was no need to think to know. However, it did not matter. At this moment, everyone's attention was on the bloody Emperor's Road. No one remembered that there was still someone pushing open the Emperor's Gate. Suddenly, something strange happened again. All the drifting flower petals on the bloody Emperor's Road quickly gathered together. They headed for the heavenly snow divine flame and merged, forming a huge flower bud. An ancient Buddha image appeared in the sky, forming a hand seal with one hand. Then, a Buddhist light descended and landed on that flower bud. Such a wondrous technique. All the Buddhas speak of it when they come. Just like the Adumbra flower, when a sage king appears, the epiphyllum flower will bloom. A series of Buddhist scriptures rang out in the sky, reverberating in the air. With a thought, the flower bloomed. As the scriptures faded, the flower bud quietly bloomed. There were no words in the world that could describe the beauty of this flower. The flower bloomed for an instant and disappeared in an instant. However, the holy and beautiful appearance of the Adumbra flower imprinted itself in everyone's mind. The epiphyllum flower appeared for an instant, its beauty fleeting. This beautiful scene made one sigh. Youth is fleeting, time fleeting. Beautiful things were always fleeting. An instant was truly just an instant. However, the instant this flower bloomed, another scene appeared, immediately filling up the disappointment of the epiphyllum flower's destruction in everyone's hearts. A Buddhist light shone from where the Adumbra flower was. Within this Buddhist light, a figure wearing the azure dragon battle armor sat cross-legged. This figure had delicate features, a cold expression and calm eyes. Who else could it be but Xiaochun? Xiaochun opened his hand. There was a seed in his palm. This was the seed left behind after the Adumbra flower died. Xiaochun's gaze focused on this seed. After coming back to life, Xiaochun looked at this divine flower seed with many emotions. He had not expected that the Adumbra flower would bloom for him. This holy flower of the Buddhist sect would only bloom for people with great virtue in the Buddhist sect. Xiaochun was very clear that he would not sleep with people of the Buddhist sect. The Mahasvara Buddha was the reason why this flower could bloom. As the Sky Dome Immortal Lord in Xiaochun's previous life, he definitely had some karma with the Mahasvara Buddha. However, this was not the time to think about this. Completing this Emperor's Road was the most important. Xiaochun drew the lunar shadow saber and picked up the 2 rings on the ground. Then he held them tightly in his hand and looked to the front. The scarlet light filling the sky shrank and condensed. Then it turned into a piercing and dazzling scarlet light encasing him. Whoosh! The scarlet light scattered, and everyone saw Wuxia, who had already completed his Emperor's Road. Everyone saw 4 indistinct wheels of light behind Wuxia. Xiaochun's eyes gleamed with sharpness. His gaze was as sharp as a treasure sword, deterring others from looking directly at him. As Xiaochun stood in the sky, he looked like a deity, showing extraordinary might and an overwhelming aura. 4th Heaven Emperor Wu. It really is the 4th Heaven Emperor Wu. Wuxia actually underwent 4 lightning tribulations after pushing open his emperor's door, becoming a greater heavenly Emperor Wu. What a horrifying aura and emperor's might. Even if someone said that he could compete with a sovereign martial emperor now, I would believe it. Cries of astonishment rang out. Everyone was shocked by the strength that Wuxia erupted with after pushing open his emperor's door. However, Wuxia, who should have been excited and joyful, showed a sullen expression. The rage that he suppressed in his chest was like a volcano, ready to erupt at any moment. He was angry. How could he not be angry? After completing this 9-colored Emperor's Road, Xiaochun was already the strongest person to come to the Kunlun realm since the ancient era. However, the scarlet light filling the sky drowned him. All the glory and attention were gone. No one could understand such depression. There was also the death of the divine daughter and many other things. All of this was because of the person on that bloody Emperor's Road. Why? Why am I, Wuxia, after experiencing so much hardship and completing this 9-colored Emperor's Road, still not comparable to him? Even if you die, you still have to trample on me, Wuxia? Wuxia said through clenched teeth, a murderous intent surging in his eyes. Chapter 1387. Seeing Wuxia clenching his teeth, Xiaochun shook his head slightly. This person was too headstrong and self-opinionated. It was like everything had to be his. However, in the world, as long as one worked hard, everyone would have a chance. Before an opportunity, everyone was fair. Just because one was the divine son and felt that something was yours, it did not have to be. For too many things, Xiaochun had just walked his own path. He had not deliberately targeted anyone. Xiaochun had not intended the divine daughter's death. However, Xiaochun did not regret it. Even if he had another chance, he would still make the same decision as before. Xiaochun withdrew his gaze and no longer looked at Xiaochun. Then he continued on his Emperor's Road. You want to finish walking this Emperor's Road? Not a chance. Wuxia roared ferociously and flew over. His speed was startlingly fast. He left behind many afterimages in the air. As the afterimages lingered, space tore open. As Xiaochun approached his Emperor's Road, the divine kingdom appeared behind him. Then he punched at Xiaochun, who was illuminated by the red light. Wonderful praises rang out in the world. A bright divine light encased Diwuk's body, shining brightly. Bang! Ripples appeared in the scarlet pillar of light. Xiaochen paused for a moment. It was not because of Diwuk's punch that he stopped. Instead, it was because Xiaochen discovered something else. There was a Buddhist sect light image under Xiaochen's feet. It flickered continuously, reflecting the scarlet light. The scarlet pillar of light blocking Diwuk's incredibly tyrannical punch definitely had something to do with this Buddhist sect lotus imprint. Xiaochen raised his foot and took a step forward. The lotus light image under his feet moved with him, remaining under his feet. Whoosh! Whoosh! When Xiaochen took a step forward, a boundless flame surged towards him. The fire tribulation was ferocious and powerful. However, Xiaochen, who was shrouded in the blood-colored beam of light, was unable to withstand it. Before Xiaochen could do anything about it, the flames were split into two by the blood-red light pillar, while Xiaochen remained unscathed. What's going on? There's actually someone on the Emperor's road who can interfere and protect him? Such a situation was something that no one had ever seen or heard of before. It must be known that even Emperor Forsaken was unable to help Diwuk resist the great tribulation of wind and fire, but Xiaochen now clearly had an external force helping him. This could only mean that the person helping Xiaochen was far more powerful than Emperor Forsaken. Xiaochen thought to himself, was it the Mahasvara Buddha who did it? If that were the case, everything would be easy to explain. The Mahasvara Buddha was an existence equal to the Sky Dome Immortal Lord. As for the Sky Dome Immortal Lord, he was the leader of the 3,000 Immortal Lords, the last immortal to survive the immortal epoch. His strength was unfathomable. Even if it were Emperor Forsaken or that deity race ancestor, the Sky Dome Immortal Lord could kill them with a flick of a finger. No, we absolutely cannot let him succeed in his tribulation. Heaven punishing corpse ghost sovereign, Dongyu, attack with me and shatter his emperor's door. At this moment, Emperor Forsaken could no longer maintain his calm. For the first time, he felt some fear in the depths of his heart. The Dongyue Ghost Emperor and the heaven-punishing corpse god clearly sensed the horror of the situation. Their expressions turned grave, and with a few flashes, they flew above the emperor's door. It was hard to say whether one prime could shatter the emperor's door. However, when three primes worked together, it might be possible with a peak strike. Is this the great tribulation that the Thunder King mentioned? Ing Zongtian muttered to himself, deep in thought. Shattering the emperor's door, such a crazy thing was too crazy. Even if the emperor's door really shattered, the shock wave from the explosion would be sufficient to severely injure the three. This was truly for the sake of ruining Xiaochen's tribulation, ignoring everything else. At the critical moment, a medallion appeared in Ing Zongtian's hand. The words Martial God were written on the front and a flickering golden word command was on the back. This is the Martial God medallion? The other three primes asked. The Martial God medallion was the inheritance medallion of the Bushin Palace. As long as one possessed the Martial God medallion, they would be the palace master of the Bushin Palace. It was because of this medallion that the three holy masters felt dissatisfied. Right now, the four were injured and could not stop Emperor Forsaken and the other two primes. They could only use the trump card that the Thunder King left behind. Ing Zongtian thought to himself, the Martial God medallion was forged by the first master of the Bushin Palace. Using this medallion, one can summon out the clone that the first master left in the medallion. How strong can a clone be? Could it be that one clone can block three primes? The cyclic astral lord said with a frown. The auras of the three primes in the sky grew increasingly stronger. All sorts of mysterious phenomena appeared continuously. In a rare sight, a divine halberd appeared in Emperor Forsaken's hand. Many divine wheels appeared behind him. As the divine wheels spun, many small worlds appeared. Countless believers contributed an endless stream of faith to the heaven-punishing corpse god. Dragon tattoos appeared on the heaven-punishing corpse god's exposed body. They looked like they came to life, swimming around continuously. The heaven-punishing corpse god's body turned into a vast sea with many huge dragons swimming around happily. The 10,000 soul pearl in the Dongyue Ghost Emperor's hand directly entered his forehead. An Azura hell materialized in his eyes, filled with countless malicious spirits. Seeing that the three primes were about to unleash their strongest attacks, The cyclic astral lord no longer held much hope for this martial god medallion. Now he started to feel some regret. The peak strike of the deity race ancestor was incredibly strong. No one could think of defeating it. Fortunately, that ancestor would not appear for a while. Clearly, Emperor Forsaken did not dare to suffer the consequences of the heavenly Tao's divine punishment again. Otherwise he would have turned around and left. However, the myriad law fiend master smiled and said, "So this is the trump card that the Thunder King left behind. If he can really summon out the clone of the first palace master of the martial god realm, even if it only has 10% of the main body's strength, there is no need to fear the three primes." "What do you mean?" "That is a legend. You will see it for yourself very soon." The myriad law fiend master did not elaborate. Ingzongtian tossed the martial god medallion in his hand into the sky. He quickly formed hand seals with both hands, and beams of holy light struck that martial god medallion. The martial god medallion in the air started spinning quickly. The light it gave off became increasingly intense. Eventually, it shot out thousands of strands of light. As the light flickered, it shot out in all directions. When the light struck the ground, incomparably deep pits appeared. Shock waves surged out endlessly. Many cultivators within 500 kilometers of Meteor Trail City were affected by the shock waves, all of them knocked back. Amidst the panic, many martial artists hurriedly retreated, their faces pale with fright. The martial god medallion. The Thunder King actually handed the method to activate the martial god medallion to Ingzongtian. Damn it! That old fogey, the Thunder King. Why is he unwilling to hand over the inheritance of my three holy masters for tens of thousands of years to us? When the three holy masters saw this scene, they suddenly stood up with extremely unsightly expressions. When the last hand seal was completed, the bright light gathered, and a figure appeared. That person held a saber. The light was too intense, obscuring his appearance. All that could be felt was an unruly and proud saber intent. The saber intent filling the air was like the wind or lightning, drifting through the sky and piercing through the clouds. With just this saber intent, everywhere it passed, the wind was no longer the wind, and the clouds were no longer the clouds. The wind and clouds between the heavens and the earth disappeared. Only the prideful saber intent filled every corner of the place. As a bladesman, Xiaoqin felt a tremor from the bottom of his heart as he stood on the Emperor's road. His body trembled, unable to move. "That's not right. I should have seen this person before?" Xiaoqin sighed softly and frowned heavily. Although he could only see the silhouette of the saber image that came out of the martial god medallion, Xiaoqin believed that he had seen this person before. However, Xiaoqin believed that he must have seen this person somewhere before. Who is this? How come he has strength surpassing prime? Emperor Forsaken asked in a trembling voice, his eyes blinded by this light. The saber intent filling the air turned into a boundless aura, surging over like a huge wave. The three primes found it difficult to speak. The saber intent filling the air turned into a boundless aura, surging over like a huge wave. The three primes found it difficult to speak. Never mind it. Let's shatter the Emperor's door first. Otherwise, we won't even have a chance to make a move. The Dongyue Ghost Emperor said with much difficulty through clenched teeth. There is already no chance. Ingzongtian said indifferently. Right after the Dongyue Ghost Emperor spoke, the mysterious figure of light drew its saber, and sent out a resplendent saber light. Chapter 1388. Whoosh. The instant Xiaoqin drew his saber, the sky, the ground, everywhere he looked was filled with the shadows of saber lights. It seemed like there were boundless saber lights in the world, appearing from every angle, every direction, everywhere. Emperor Forsaken, the heaven-punishing corpse god, and the Dongyue Ghost Emperor could not dodge at all. Regardless of whether it was what they saw, heard, or imprinted in their minds, all they could hear was saber light and saber hum. The saber light turned into a beam, and saber hum resounded, like surging waves or surging thunder. Bang! The Bushan Palace's first-generation palace master raised his hand, and the saber light he sent out knocked the three primes into the air. Pussy eye! The three all vomited a mouthful of blood, their complexions turning incredibly pale. The small world of the divine kingdom behind Emperor Forsaken shattered. The miserable screams of his believers reverberated in the world. A terrifying saber wound appeared on the chest of the heaven-punishing corpse god, who had dragon motifs carved on his body, and turned into a vast body that looked like it hid countless huge dragons. That saber mark was like a vast ocean, splitting it into two halves, slaying countless evil dragons. The Dongyue Ghost Emperor was in an even worse state. He nearly went blind in his eyes. The Azura hell materialized in his eyes was completely destroyed, and his eyes felt an incredible piercing pain. The clone of the Bushin Palace's first-generation palace master turned into a beam of light and entered the martial god medallion. Ing Zongtian waved his hand slightly, and the rapidly spinning martial god medallion stopped and quickly landed in his hand. At the side, the cyclic astral lord's eyes flickered. Intense desire appeared in the depths of his eyes. Surpassed Prime. It turns out that the first-generation Bushin Palace's palace master is this strong? Ing Zongtian, what's going on? Is the Bushin Palace's first-generation palace master in existence that surpasses Prime? The cyclic astral lord asked anxiously. Ing Zongtian shook his head and replied, "No. That's impossible. If he's this powerful, how could he not surpass the utmost being realm?" Ing Zongtian said, "The Thunder King didn't surpass the Supremes, but he could still intimidate Kunlun. He doesn't have to surpass the Supremes to defeat Emperor Forsaken, and the other two. After this, I'll tell you in detail. Now follow me and continue to intercept and kill Emperor Forsaken. How about that?" Now that Emperor Forsaken and the other two were also injured, they were in a much worse state than the four of them. If they were to fight again, they wouldn't be defeated by the heaven-punishing corpse god alone. It doesn't matter. We've already fought for so long. I'm not afraid of fighting a little longer. Don't worry. Seeing the myriad Law Fiend Master and the Fox King agree, the cyclic astral lord had no choice but to suppress the doubts in his heart. He said, "I have no objections." Whoosh! The figures of the four flashed, immediately charging at the heaven-abandoning deity sovereign, and the other two. "Come, let's go and protect Big Brother Xiaochun as well." The figures of Mo Chun and Juanxi, Fang Baiyu, and the others flashed, blocking Di Wuk, who was about to continue attacking. The remaining deity Dao Union cultivators and the Haotian sect cultivators started fighting with the Sky Dome Realm cultivators again. This chaotic battle was truly never-ending. Di Wuk looked coldly at Fang Baiyu, Mo Chun, and Juanxi Yubingyun, Shui Lingling, and the rest of Xiaochun's friends and seniors. "You want to block the current me with just the likes of you?" Fang Baiyu stood at the very front with Jiang Chuan. He said sullenly, "Di Wuk, now that you have advanced to martial emperor, you even underwent 4 heavenly tribulations. Your future accomplishments will be limitless. Why must you continue making things difficult for Xiaochun?" "Make things difficult for him?" When Di Wuk heard this, he laughed loudly. "Since when did I make things difficult for him? He is the one going against me everywhere. Starting from Kunlun Mountain's heavenly dew divine lake, he has been making things difficult for me. In the end, he even killed the woman I love the most. I cannot swallow this. If you all move aside now, I can spare your lives. Otherwise, don't blame me for making a move. I cannot hold back." Mo Chun berated angrily. "Don't go overboard. From the start to the end, Big Brother Xiaochun never made things difficult for you on purpose. How can you say that?" I know you. You are Xiaochun's closest confidant. That's fine. I will make my move on you first. I will let Xiaochun have a taste of what it is like to see a loved one die. Myriad Heaven Divine Fist, Distant Legend. When Di Wuk punched, he directly executed his consummate move. Countless sagely songs rang out, praising the deity race's most ancient and distant legend. The glory and legends of the past appeared in reality. Heaven and earth rippled, forming a magnificent picture. The moment Xiaochun punched, he displayed the tyrannical and peerless aura of the deity race reigning supreme in the world. The momentum of this punch was very strong. It advanced ferociously, breaking through Fang Baiyu's and Jiang Chuan's defenses, and instantly arriving before Mo Chun. "Die!" Di Wuk roared ferociously. A golden light flickered on his fist. A surging emperor's might spread out, vast and endless. Mo Chun felt shocked. In the time it took for a spark to fly, She summoned out the Book of Heavenly Works. 300 different flames came out of her body and formed a refining cauldron. Then she held it across her chest. Bang! The refining cauldron in front of Emochan shattered, and the fist struck her body. Fortunately, at the crucial moment, the Book of Heavenly Works sent down another flame, weakening the might of this punch. However, Emochan's body did not shatter on the spot. She only flew back and fainted. Not dead. Sensing that Emochan still had a breath, Diwuk frowned slightly and was about to punch again. Pa! Crackling sounds resounded in the sky. It was Injuanshi's true dragon lightning whip. It turned into a dragon and swept over. Paltry tricks. Diwuk casually grabbed the dragon's head. Then he pulled hard, and the force flowed through the true dragon lightning whip and flung Injuanshi away. Shadowless and windless. There was clearly no wind, but Diwuk's hair blew messily. At this moment, Yu Bingyan charged over with the wind shadow sword in her hand. Where are you hiding? Come out! Diwuk shouted, his voice containing surging mental energy. Xiaochen directly used force to break through technique. The sound waves shook Yu Bingyun's sea of consciousness. She vomited a mouthful of blood and revealed herself. Whoosh! 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 3 arrows flew over like meteors. Shui Lingling raised the Emperor Yi shooting sunbow and fired from a distance. Diwuk smiled in disdain and punched. He executed the second move of the myriad heaven divine fist, radiance of deities. A divine light descended from the sky, encasing Diwuk. As his long hair fluttered, he punched from a distance. Explosions resounded, and the 3 arrows shattered in the air. However, the fist light did not lose momentum, knocking the distant Shui Lingling down from the profound bird. These outstanding talents of the same generation, who could fight with Diwuk in the past, were no match for Diwuk after he advanced to martial emperor. They could not even receive one move. No, not even half a move. At the crucial moment, Fang Baiyu and Jiang Chuan, the 2 greater heavenly martial emperors, arrived and worked together to charge at Diwuk. However, the situation was still not optimistic. In just 3 moves, the 2 greater heavenly martial emperors showed signs of being no match for him. Diwuk's strength surpassed expectations. Among the greater heavenly emperor Wu, no one was a match for him. However, now a chaotic battle ensued. Even sovereign martial emperors were dragged into an even larger battlefield. Furthermore, there were strong enemies like the 3 holy masters to deal with. No one could block the current Diwuk. His aura was so strong that it could not be blocked. On the Bloody Emperor's road, Xiaochen showed a sullen expression. He clenched his fists tightly and started running quickly on the Emperor's road. Everywhere he passed, a scarlet pillar of light split the great tribulation of wind and fire in half. The various wind and fire tribulations could not stop Xiaochen at all. Faster! 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 At this moment, Xiaochen had only one thought in his mind: to quickly finish this Emperor's road that ascended to the heavens and stop the somewhat crazy Diwuk. If he delayed, who knew what would happen? Xiaochen ran wildly. Soon, only 10 steps remained of the final 3,000 steps of the 10,000 steps. As long as he took these 10 steps, he could push open the Emperor's door. Then he would reforge his golden body and become a martial emperor, ending this chaotic battle. Pussy. Just at this moment, Fang Baiyu and Jiang Chuan both vomited blood and went flying back at the same time. Mo Chun and the others, who came to stop Diwuk, could no longer remain standing. Diwuk revealed a cold smile as he swept his gaze across the ground, shifting between Yu Bingyan, Shui Lingling, Mo Chun and the other girls. Finally, Xiaochen fixed his gaze on the unconscious Mo Chun. Diwuk, how dare you? On the Bloody Emperor's road, only 1 step remained. Xiaochen turned his head back and shouted coldly as he stood high in the sky. The Emperor's door was only 1 step away. However, 10 kilometers below, Mo Chun and the others hung on the edge of death. Aha! Why would I not dare? Diwuk did not care. He reared his head back and laughed. On the ascending heavens road, Xiaochen's expression turned extremely sullen. Diwuk, I Xiaochen, swear to heaven that I will kill you in this lifetime. Even if you can kill me, you will not be able to stop me from killing all the people you care about. Diwuk laughed in disdain. He did not care about Xiao Chen's threat at all. He soared into the air and flew towards Mo Chun. Xiao Chen's eyes turned cold. The moment the divine daughter died, he made up his mind to personally kill all the people that Xiao Chen cared about. You are seeking death. A ferocious roar came from Xiao Chen, who was only one step away from the Emperor's Road and the Emperor's door. Xiao Chen made a decision that no one expected. He gave up on the Emperor's Road and jumped down. Boom! The Emperor's Road shattered, turning into blood that dyed the sky red, looking even more beautiful than the setting sun. Chapter 1389. The 10,000 steps shattered, turning into thick scarlet clouds spreading in the sky. No one expected such a scene. Since ancient times, no one had ever done such a thing. At the final step of the Emperor's Road, just one step away from the Emperor's door, Xiao Chen took the initiative to give up. Under the scarlet clouds, everyone in the chaotic battle revealed stunned expressions, completely stupefied. However, no one noticed that the instant the Emperor's Road shattered, the Scarlet Emperor's door in the sky lost its color and flowed out like blood. The color faded and flowed out like blood, turning into a purple Emperor's door. Then it turned into a beam of light and entered Xiao Chen's body. Everyone only saw the Emperor's Road shatter and blood flow back, filling the sky. However, no one saw that at the same time, the Emperor's door, which had shed the blood and revealed its true appearance, entered Xiao Chen's body. The raging Xiao Chen felt something in his heart of an emperor. However, at this moment, he could not be bothered to look at it or care about it. Holding the lunar shadow saber, Xiao Chen descended from the sky. Diwuk, who was preparing to attack Mo Chun, turned his head back and happened to see the Emperor's Road shatter, turning into a sea of blood that flowed back into the sky. This scene completely stunned him. Whoosh! Whoosh! Buddhist chants resounded in the sky. Countless cries of pain came from the thick scarlet clouds. The sea of blood surged, and thousands of malicious spirits appeared in it, looking extremely horrifying. That was sin. However, how great did one's sin have to be for it to turn into a boundless sea of blood? When Ying Zongtian and the others saw this scene, their expressions changed drastically. At this moment, everyone noticed that something was wrong with the Scarlet Emperor's Road. Blood was an ominous sign. When blood appeared on a person's Emperor's Road, it was a sign of great evil. It was hard to imagine what would happen if Xiao Chen pushed open the Emperor's door and absorbed so much sin. With the Emperor's Road shattering, these sins could no longer be hidden. When they truly revealed themselves, an evil aura spread out in the sky. Even Emperor Forsaken was frightened. No wonder his Emperor's Road is a path of blood. It turns out that his sin is so deep. Something's wrong. He's a blue-robed emperor. No matter how strong he is, he can't have so many sins. Even a supreme being would find it hard to accumulate so many sins. What's going on? Qing Emperor. It can only be because of the Qing Emperor. He is the descendant of the Qing Emperor. He must have inherited the sins of the Qing Emperor. That's right. Only the Qing Emperor could have committed so many sins. It's too scary. Fortunately, he didn't push open the Emperor's door. If he did, he would be in existence even more terrifying than the Qing Emperor. Looking at the sky full of sins, Emperor Wu felt a chill down his spine, and his scalp went numb. Regardless of what these martial emperors and primes thought, after Diwuk recovered from his initial shock, he started laughing. Xiao Chen laughed very openly, his eyes filled with mockery. Xiao Chen, you are really tired of living. Good. 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 Many thanks for giving me the opportunity to take revenge personally. Myriad Heaven Divine Fist, deities descending. Diwuk punched, executing the extremely tyrannical deities descending of the Myriad Heaven Divine Fist. His aura instantly soared, and his combat prowess soared tenfold. Xiao Chen's long hair fluttered, each strand releasing a golden light. Myriad Heaven Divine Fist, deities descending. Xiao Chen, who was descending from the sky, did not change his expression as he similarly executed a Myriad Heaven Divine Fist. It was the same deities descending fearless. Xiao Chen's vital qi had already reached 100 dragon force in the first place. Furthermore, his physical body had undergone 9 rounds of metamorphosis on the Bloody Emperor's Road. Furthermore, the Adumbra flower's nirvanic rebirth had already raised his vital chi to 500 dragon force. His vital chi had already risen to 500 dragon power. 10 times his strength was 5,000 dragon power. Immediately, the soaring dragons behind Xiao Chen roared ferociously, causing the wind and clouds to change color. Although this was far from comparable to the heaven-punishing corpse god's 10,000 dragons, soaring with a casual strike. However, 5,000 dragon force was already comparable to the peak strike of the greater heavenly Emperor Wu. Bang! The two fists clashed. As a fourth heaven martial Emperor Wu's outstanding talent, Diwuk held the upper hand at the start. It looked like he was about to knock Xiao Chen back. However, at this crucial moment, the Emperor's door in Xiao Chen's body suddenly cracked open, and a surging energy surged out. Diwuk flew back like a sandbag, not even having time to make a sound. Xiao Chen could not be bothered with the knocked-back Diwuk. Then he quickly landed beside Mo Chun. After checking Mo Chen's injuries, his sullen expression relaxed slightly. Yu Bingyun, Bai Shui Lingling, and the others were all lying on the ground, unable to move. They were severely injured and weak, looking incredibly miserable. When Xiao Chen looked even further away, the entire Meteor Trail city was littered with the corpses of cultivators. The potholes were even filled with blood, forming many scarlet lakes with countless corpses floating in them. When Xiao Chen looked up, he saw a sea of blood in the sky. Under the purification of the Sanskrit chants, countless sins wailed in agony. Immediately, Xiao Chen sighed ruefully, suddenly feeling very tired. He had never regretted anything in his life. He had a clear conscience, a clear conscience, a clear conscience, and a clear conscience. However, if he had another chance, he absolutely would not step onto the Emperor's road. If he sacrificed so many people for the sake of himself, what was the point of being an emperor? Little 3, bring them away. After a long time, Xiao Chen spoke in a somewhat fatigued voice. Little 3 could sense his depressed mood. Without saying anything, Little 3 came out of the 3-life mirror. Then, her figure flickered as she executed the universal movement. In a few flashes, she brought Mo Chun, Yu Bingyun, Bai and the others outside Meteor Trail City. Xiao Chen slowly stood up and looked to the front. 10 kilometers away, Diwuk slowly climbed to his feet amid a thick cloud of dust. Boom! After Xiao Chen stood up, his aura surged, and all the dust scattered. That's impossible. I became a fourth heaven Emperor Wu. Among greater heavenly Emperor Wu, I can be said to be unrivaled. How can I be weaker than you? Diwuk went somewhat berserk. He casually threw 3 punches, and many chains of deities appeared in the air, charging at Xiao Chen. These were the chains of deities used by the myriad heaven divine fist to seal and suppress its target. However, in Diwuk's hands, this fist technique used for sealing turned murderous. Flawless saber technique, dragon subduing stance. Xiao Chen soared into the air and used his energy to materialize dragons. In an instant, 500 huge dragons flew out, looking incredibly berserk. At the same time, Xiao Chen's surging mental energy entered the huge dragons. It was like adding the finishing touch to a fire dragon, instantly bringing these 500 true dragons to life. Immediately, the 500 true dragons under Xiao Chen bared their fangs and claws. They gathered boundless dragon chi and poured it into his body. Using the might of the 500 true dragons, Xiao Chen sent out 3 saber strikes. After the 3 saber strikes, all the chains of deities flying at him broke, not a single one remaining. Diwuk's strength soared, reaching the 4th heaven Emperor Wu level. However, Xiao Chen had undergone a nirvanic rebirth and walked through 9,000 emperors' roads. He was no longer the same as before. Myriad heaven divine fist eternal myth. Diwuk punched again, and a huge image of an ancient deity materialized behind him. Then he punched at Xiao Chen. That deity was 3 kilometers tall, and a divine might spread out as if it was real. Xiao Chen did not panic. He also executed eternal myth. However, the deity image behind him materialized Xiao Chen's true body. They were both eternal myth but took 2 different paths. At this moment, the strong clashed. The instant the 2 clashed, the deity image behind Diwuk immediately shattered. Diwuk vomited blood and went flying back in disbelief. It looks like you still do not understand. How can there be a deity in this world? Only you are the most real existence. Xiao Chun withdrew his hand. Holding the lunar shadow saber, he walked forward step by step. Although Xiao Chun had not advanced to martial emperor yet, his aura suppressed Wux. Bang, bang, bang. After another 3 moves, Wux suffered defeat after defeat, each punch severely injuring him. After 3 moves, Xiao Chun sent Wux flying with a kick. He was so injured that he could not get up. What's going on? Xiao Chun clearly has not advanced to martial emperor yet. Why is he stronger than Wux? Emperor Forsaken felt somewhat flustered. He originally thought that Xiao Chun seeking trouble for Wux would just be seeking trouble for himself. He would definitely be taught a ruthless lesson. However, the reality was that Xiao Chun completely defeated Wux, practically hanging him up and beating him up. Pussy. Xiao Chun, who was advancing, suddenly vomited a mouthful of blood, and his complexion turned incredibly pale. A dense flame burned in his body from the inside out. A strong wind blew, making this flame burn even more ferociously. Xiao Chun's emperor's road shattered, and his great tribulation of wind and fire started to rebound. This was a process that every person who failed their tribulation had to go through. If one managed to endure it, they would become a half-step Emperor Wu. If one failed, they would be burned alive. However, Xiao Chun's situation was clearly somewhat special. He had taken a path that no one had taken before. Chapter 1390. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 4 figures descended from the sky. Ying Zongtian, the myriad law fiend master, and the other 2 immediately protected Xiao Chun. On the other side, Emperor Forsaken also descended, protecting Wux behind him. The leaders of the 2 sides faced each other. Ying Zongtian looked at Emperor Forsaken and said, "Qitian, it is time to end this farce, right? Do you still want to continue destroying my Haotian sect?" Emperor Forsaken smiled faintly and said, "There's no need. You already lost." From the moment Xiao Chun jumped off the Emperor's road, the result was already decided. Hand over the Martial God Medallion, and the deity Dao Union cultivators will withdraw immediately. Otherwise, we will not let this matter rest. The Vermilion Bird Holy Lord stepped forward and said, "Ying Zongtian, this is something that does not belong to you in the first place. It is best not to keep it. Otherwise, today's disaster will happen again. This is all because of your greed. Hurry up and hand over the Martial God token. I'm truly ashamed for all of you. In the end, you're only protecting a sinful demon. What's even more laughable is that this demon actually jumped down in the end and destroyed his own future." The 3 holy masters took turns stepping forward, mocking Ying Zongtian to hand over the Martial God Medallion. Ying Zongtian's lips curled up in a cold smile. What a joke. I'm greedy? If not for the Thunder King's repeated instructions before he left, I, Ying Zongtian, would not have accepted this hot potato. Let me tell you. The Thunder King begged me to accept the Martial God Medallion. Since I agreed, I will not let down the Thunder King's instructions. Emperor Forsaken said. In that case, it looks like we cannot come to an agreement. Ying Zongtian, the deity Dao Union will definitely come again half a month from now. At that time, I hope you will continue to be lucky and be able to hold on. Dang, dang, dang. Right at that moment, loud and clear bell tolls suddenly sounded in the world. The bell was resounding and solemn. It had a strange charm as it spread throughout the world. The moment the bell rang, the expressions of the primes present changed drastically. The heaven-abandoning deity sovereign looked into the distance and muttered, Kunlun Mountain's heaven-fixing bell has not rung for more than 10,000 years. What exactly happened? Kunlun Mountain was the center of the entire Kunlun realm. The heaven-fixing bell hung halfway up the mountain. This bell came from the immortal epoch. Only when something major happened would it ring throughout the Kunlun realm. In fact, it could be pointed out that the bell would only ring when something major happened with the abyss demons. In the sky, 5 huge phantoms suddenly appeared in the clouds. Each phantoms came from a different race. The god race, the demon race, the ghost race, the human race, and the corpse race. If one carefully sensed the auras of these figures, they would discover that they were all peak 9th heaven martial emperors, only a step away from primes. These 5 old men had lived for a long time. Their eyes were filled with the vicissitudes of life. When Zongtian, Emperor Forsaken, and the other primes saw these old men, they all revealed respectful expressions. Clearly, these 5 old men were seniors with extremely high statuses among the various races. The Deep Abyss Demon race is launching an all-out attack on the astral battlefield. Primes of the various races, please hurry to Kunlun Mountain. No one is to be left behind. The 5 old men spoke at the same time. Their voices were resonant, like the sound of the great Tao ear-splitting. However, what was even more shocking was the news from the old men. The Deep Abyss Demon race was launching an all-out attack on the astral battlefield. All the Emperor Wu and primes felt the gravity of the situation. The astral battlefield was like the Kunlun realm's frontline defense against the Deep Abyss Demon race. Once the Deep Abyss Demon race occupied the astral battlefield and gained a firm foothold, they would break through the barrier of the sky and launch an all-out attack. That would be a disaster. After all, in the previous demonic calamity, the demons used the spatial tears between the 2 realms to come in. Not many people could come in. Hence, no matter what, the astral battlefield had to be defended. In comparison, the conflict before them could be put down. They had to. Indeed, this group of demon monarchs really took advantage of this moment to make a move. Emperor Forsaken snorted coldly and said, "Let's go." After saying that, Emperor Forsaken ordered the deity Dao Union to retreat, heading for Kunlun Mountain with the Dongyue Ghost Emperor and the heaven-punishing corpse god. The deity Dao Union's army immediately retreated like the receding tide. The 3 holy masters felt dissatisfied. However, before such a situation, no matter how dissatisfied they had no other choice. Zongtian turned his head back to take a look. Xiao Chun, who suffered the rebound of his great tribulation of wind and fire, had already fallen, his fate unknown. Xiao Chun quickly stepped forward and checked Xiao Chen's injuries. After letting go, he frowned heavily. "How is it? Did the little fellow make it through?" The myriad law fiend master asked in his aged voice, containing some pity and benevolence. Zongtian nodded and replied, "He made it through. He is still breathing. However, I do not know when he will wake up. The hidden injuries in his body are gone. However, he has not condensed an emperor's soul. He probably will not be able to advance to martial emperor in this lifetime." After the cyclic astral lord heard that, he snorted coldly and left without saying anything. The 3 primes found this somewhat strange. However, they were very familiar with the cyclic astral lord's character, and did not find it too strange. "I hope that he can accept this blow. Actually, we should have thought of it long ago. Blood rain falling from the sky and the bloody road leading to the sky. These are all ominous signs. We should not have let him step onto the Emperor's road from the start," the Fox King said with a drawn-out sigh, his tone laced with worry. Zongtian relaxed his frown and said softly, "The affairs of the world are like unpredictable. Xiao Chen might have profited from his misfortune. Since ancient times, no one has dared to jump off the Emperor's road. I was wondering why he could not jump off. Among us who obediently took the Emperor's road, which of us truly surpassed Prime? In this era where the martial Tao is in decline, we have to break the rules and not take the usual path. Otherwise, we can only continue down our old path." The Fox King and the myriad law fiend master exchanged glances, and shook their heads slightly. However, they did not agree with what Zongtian said. The myriad law fiend master said, "It is a good thing that he made it through. This little fellow is a person of character. We place too much of a burden on him. Let him live in peace for a while. It is good to be an ordinary person. It is time for us to go." "Right, it is time to go." The 3 primes stood up one after another, and headed for Kunlun Mountain. The Deep Abyss Demon race's full-scale attack on the astral battlefield had to be discussed together. In the yellow springs of the ghost race's hell, where only black and white existed, the headless Kittagarbha Bodhisattva had a head at some point in time. The Kittagarbha Bodhisattva slowly closed his eyes and muttered to himself, "How unfortunate! How unfortunate!" He actually jumped down at the crucial step. Otherwise, he would be covered in sin. After this Bodhisattva refined him, he would be able to charge out of this abandoned land. As the Kittagarbha Bodhisattva spoke, The countless aggrieved spirits in the sea of bitterness made signs of conversion. They turned into beams of white light and rushed into the joint between the Kitagarbha Bodhisattva's head and neck. There was a huge wound there. Blood spurted out like a fountain. The white light flew out continuously, looking like a cup of water on a burning cart of firewood. However, no matter what, that horrifying wound still healed at a slow pace that the naked eye could not keep up with. Outside Meteor Trail City, after all the primes left, Chu Chaoyun and Lung Yu cautiously came out of a void tear. Chu Chaoyun said indifferently, "Now, do you know why I did not let you make a move?" However, Lung Yu ignored Chu Chaoyun's words. She said softly, "If it were me, would he have jumped down without a care for anything?" When Chu Chaoyun heard that, he could not help smiling bitterly. At this moment, the demon monarch Lung Yu was actually considering this question. Whoosh! The various holy lords of the heavenly starry ocean descended from the sky and looked at the unconscious Xiao Chun. Their expressions were complicated as they sighed, shook their heads, and left alone. The mini Emperor Wu's landed and took a look. Then they ignored him and left. No matter how strong Xiao Chun was, even if he defeated Di Wuk, he was just SOSO in the eyes of the crowd. There was no more room for improvement. Furthermore, after Di Wuk stabilized his cultivation and advanced step by step, he would only leave Xiao Chun further behind. Furthermore, as the various outstanding talents of the Kunlun realm cleared their great tribulations of wind and fire, and achieved their positions, there would be no more people who could surpass Xiao Chun. People who surpassed Xiao Chun would appear endlessly. The legend of the Azure Dragon King would no longer exist. Many people came and left without the slightest bit of reluctance. Only the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea picked up the unconscious Xiao Chun without saying a word after they landed, preparing to send him back to Heavenly Star Island. Just like when one drank water, only one knew whether it was warm or cold. Only at this moment could one see who one's true friends were. Chapter 1391. The affairs of the world were like a game of chess, unpredictable. 5 years had passed since Blue Dragon King Xiao Chen's startling leap during his great tribulation of wind and fire, which shook the Kunlun realm. In the long years of the Kunlun realm's cultivators, 5 years passed in the blink of an eye. Some cultivators might even spend 5 years in closed-door cultivation. The world would not change too much in 5 years, as 5 years was too short. While 5 years was short, it could be very long. This was because in the past 5 years, the Kunlun continent had been surging like a storm. The city walls changed, and the various outstanding talents took the stage. It was very bustling. Earlier, Di Wuk ascended to the martial emperor position and advanced rapidly, cultivating to the 6th heaven in one go before Emperor Wu stopped, and led the outstanding talents. Then, the outstanding talents of the various races advanced to martial emperor one after another. All sorts of legendary emperors' paths appeared, chasing after Di Wuk. There were even some outstanding talents who were not inferior to Di Wuk's. Once they advanced to martial emperor, they became like a fish leaping over the dragon gate. There were also several people who had been unknown before they advanced to martial emperor, people no one had heard of. After they advanced to martial emperor, they shone brightly, their luck overturning, flabbergasting everyone. The golden age of the martial epoch, which was celebrated 20 years ago, finally arrived 5 years later. The great age of the various races competing and the stars shining had arrived. Even Di Wuk did not have absolute strength in this age. When the age of geniuses arrived, there would be a great calamity. The prophecies of the predecessors were right. After that intense battle 5 years ago, the astral battlefield still fell. The Kunlun realm lost its front lines to defend against the demons. Fortunately, that battle allowed the deep abyss demon races to see the hidden trump cards of the Kunlun realm. Although they took the astral battlefield, they suffered heavy losses and did not dare to launch an all-out attack. Now one should not be surprised to see demon cultivators in the Kunlun realm. They were simply too ordinary. With the astral battlefield as the front line, it was too easy for the demon experts to come to the Kunlun realm. The major characters could not do anything about it. As long as the demons did not launch a large-scale attack, the primes would not care about these scattered demon cultivators. It was a prosperous era, But it was also a chaotic era. This was the best era. Outstanding talents of the various races emerged one after another. Stunning enchanted treasures continuously appeared in the various forbidden lands. This was also the worst era. The abyss demons had the upper hand, and the shadow of the 10,000-year demonic calamity was like a sharp sword hanging over their heads. The Kunlun realm and the demonic world could erupt into an all-out war at any time. There was no winning or losing in this battle, only life and death. Once they were defeated, the blow it would bring to both sides would be the most tragic disaster. As for the Blue Dragon King Xiaochun, there were countless rumors about him in the beginning. It was said that he was burned to death by the backlash of the wind and fire tribulation, and not even his bones were left. It was also said that he was lucky to survive, but he was stuck at the half-step Emperor Wu for the rest of his life, and his cultivation had fallen by half. There were also those who said that his cultivation had been completely crippled, and that he was now just an ordinary person. There were all sorts of theories, but as time passed and the Golden Age descended, the Blue Dragon King Xiaochun, who had not shown his face for a long time, was gradually forgotten by the world. After the various outstanding talents advanced to Martial Emperor, they all became famous. They had already forgotten about that legendary person from 3 years ago. How long was 5 years? How short was 5 years? In these 5 years, the world had changed too much. Heavenly Starry Ocean, Western Sea, Heavenly Star Island, Heaven Dragon City. After 5 years, the construction of the Heaven Dragon City was completed. The city walls were even taller and more majestic. It was bustling with activity. It did not decline because of Blue Dragon King Xiaochun. Instead, it was developing better and better. Compared to Bright Moon City, it was not the least bit inferior. However, the ones who left the deepest impression on this city in the Heavenly Starry Ocean were City Lord Mo Chun and the group of dazzling Vice City Lords. 2 years ago, Mo Chun successfully cleared her great tribulation of wind and fire and ascended to the Martial Emperor position. On that day, a mysterious phenomenon descended from the sky. Blazing flames spread throughout the sky. The 9,000 Holy Fire Emperor's roads were no weaker than Diwuk's 9-colored Emperor's road. When she took off her veil, everyone gasped in surprise. The half-veiled City Lord Mo Chun was actually a stunning beauty. She was no less beautiful than Yu Bingyun, each with their own charm. Although the Blue Dragon King did not advance to Martial Emperor, after Mo Chun, his old friends, Yu Chenxi, Gong Yangyu, Lan Tianji Yu, and the other Dragon's Gate elders all succeeded in clearing their tribulations. There was also the former Lunar Palace's holy daughter, who stayed in Heaven Dragon City. The two great beauties of the Kunlun realm gathered in Heaven Dragon City. A person's name was like a tree's shadow. Under the lead of this group of good friends and confidants, the Dragon's Gate even showed signs of becoming the center of the entire oceanic world. Be it the various holy lands of the Heavenly Starry Ocean or the peak sects of the Dark Sea, the Storm Sea, or the Ice Sea, they all had branches stationed in Heaven Dragon City. Heavenly Star Island was still the same island from back then. Heaven Dragon City was still the same city from back then. However, no one mentioned the name of the Blue Dragon King Xiaochun for a long time already. On this particular day, in the most bustling hall on the first floor of an inn in Heaven Dragon City, many cultivators intensely discussed the recent major events. Have you heard? Not long ago, the Zodiac Hall's holy son Chu Yang fought against 3 demon outstanding talents in the heart of the ocean. Despite fighting against 3 alone, he still managed to kill them easily. He really brought honor to our Heavenly Starry Ocean. After the holy son Chu Yang advanced to Martial Emperor, he grew stronger as he fought. I heard that he is already a 5th Heaven Martial Emperor. This golden age is really regrettable. All these outstanding talents underwent at least 2 heavenly tribulations when they pushed open their emperor's door. Furthermore, all of them have overwhelming luck, and their cultivations soar to a frightening level. 1 year is equivalent to 10 or 20 years of the older generation's bitter cultivation. There is nothing to be regretful about. This is a golden age and the heavenly Tao favors them. Everything is possible. If these outstanding talents did not have such strength, how could they compete with the royal clan outstanding talents of the demonic world? That's true. The demon cultivators have become increasingly arrogant in the past few years. They even dare to openly kill people in the Kunlun realm. This has been the case since ancient times. The most glorious age is usually accompanied by the most chaotic age. If the world is not chaotic, how can there be outstanding talents? That's right. It is just that we do not have good luck. Otherwise, we would be able to slaughter demons in this chaotic age and gain fame. Everyone in the hall discussed the glorious deeds of the holy son Chu Yang, and the increasing number of demon cultivators in the Kunlun realm. When the topic shifted to the demon cultivators, the discussions in the hall immediately reached a climax. Now, everyone's expression changed at the mention of demons. In the past, they only heard of demon cultivators in legends. They were practically everywhere in the various forbidden lands. Occasionally, news of demon experts killing or humiliating Kunlun realm cultivators would spread out. When mentioning the demons, the cultivators of the various races of the Kunlun realm would put aside their grudges and work together against a common enemy. For Chu Yang to be able to kill 3 demon experts so easily, it had to be said that this helped this group of ordinary cultivators vent a lot of resentment. Humph! Just as everyone's discussion reached its peak, a person walked over from the corridor. He snorted coldly, and a cold intent spread out from his body. Along with the chill, there was also a terrifying demonic aura on this person's body. For a moment, the lively hall suddenly became silent. No one said another word. When one looked carefully, there was a purple mark on this person's forehead. This was the mark of the royal clan of the demonic world. The cultivators in the hall immediately felt their hearts sink. No one had expected that a demonic world royal clan expert was actually staying in this inn. This person slowly walked down. As he looked at the silent hall, a look of disdain flashed in his eyes. The ignorant are innocent. Only a bunch of trash like you would dare to spout such arrogant words. Even if the so-called holy scions of your heavenly starry ocean stood before me, Fengzi, they would not dare to say such things. Bunch of trash. Fengzi. It's him, the outstanding talent of the royal clan of the Deep Abyss demonic world's Wind Demon Monarch bloodline. In the past few years, he has killed several Emperor Wu of our Kunlun realm. Even the Heavenly Province Academy's holy scions lost to him. We are in big trouble. How did we offend such a god of calamity? When the cultivators in the hall heard Fengzi's name, they immediately muttered to themselves. They no longer dared to raise their heads to size up this person lest they invite trouble. Hehe. Fengzi, what a familiar name. I remember now. There was such a person who visited the Dragon Gate 3 times, wanting to fight the Blue Dragon King Xiaochen to wash away the humiliation from back then. In the end, he never got to see the Blue Dragon King. Instead, he got defeated by the Heaven Dragon City's city lord. What's wrong? Are you here to slap someone's face again? Just at this moment, a lazy voice came from the second floor, sounding extremely untimely. Chapter 1392. The atmosphere in the inn instantly turned even colder because of these words. Fengzi suddenly looked up and saw a man holding a wine cup on the second floor. There was a saber casually placed at the side of the table, looking at Fengzi with a nonchalant smile. The Northern Sea Alliance's young alliance chief Yi Chun. Upon seeing this person's appearance, someone immediately recognized him. This was Yi Chun, one of the most influential people in the heavenly starry ocean in recent years. He advanced to Martial Emperor very early. The instant he pushed open the Emperor's door, he underwent 3 lightning tribulations. Now that 3 years had passed, he was already a 4th Heaven Martial Emperor, Emperor Wu. Furthermore, he was a peak bladesman, possessing incredible combat prowess. Do you wish to die? Fengzi asked in an incredibly cold voice, his tone filled with murderous intent. Yi Chun's lips curled up in a faint smile. Others might be afraid of you, but I, Yi Chun, am not afraid of the demonic world royal clan disciples. Could it be that what I said was not the truth? Furthermore, among the royal clan disciples, you Fengzi are just at the bottom, right? Whoosh. Right after Fengzi spoke, a purple wind blew at him at lightning speed. Bang, bang, bang. Everywhere the purple wind passed, the bowls and plates on the table all shattered into powder. The strong wind was like a saber, and several bloody wounds appeared on the faces of the cultivators at the tables. What fast speed! This speed was frighteningly fast. Startled cries rang out in the hall. Good timing! Yi Chen laughed loudly and ferociously smacked the table with his palm. Pa! The table shattered into thousands of pieces. The pieces were like sabers densely flying at Yi Chen. Ding! Ding! Dang! Dang! The purple wind drifted among the shattered pieces, giving off metallic clangs like a real saber clashing with a real sword. Strong energy shot out, and saber intent swept out, looking incredibly berserk. Only now did the spectating cultivators realize that every piece of the table contained Yi Chen's unparalleled saber intent. Thousands upon thousands of pieces, every piece was a killing move. While this looked like a simple clash, killing intent filled the place. It was extremely dangerous. If one was not careful, one would lose immediately. Feng Zi was truly incredible. In merely 2 breaths, he shattered all the pieces containing saber intent. This place is too small. Let's go out and fight. I can't stand the arrogance of the demon race. Yi Chen laughed loudly and soared into the air, while holding his saber. His body nimbly passed through the window of the inn. Whoosh! Feng Zi moved like a shadow. His body could not be seen at all. Only a shadow could be seen following him. Let's go, let's go. The North Sea Alliance's young alliance master is going to fight the demon world's royalties elites. We must take a good look. The crowded hall immediately emptied. Several cultivators took the opportunity to slip away without paying their bills. This angered the owner of the restaurant, causing him to curse incessantly. On the bustling street, Yi Chen and Feng Zi, 2 fearless people, started fighting. Unfortunately, their strengths were about the same. In a short period of time, no one could defeat the other. Feng Zi's advantage lay in his incredible speed, catching others off guard. Even his shadow could not be seen clearly. As for Yi Chen, he skillfully executed his saber domain and forced Feng Zi to slow down. Xiao Chen's martial techniques were also very large. When he swung his saber, he could sweep a large area. Since Yi Chen could not see his opponent's position, he might as well go wild. All he needed to do was figure out his opponent's general position. Now that the two were evenly matched, they fought to their heart's content. However, this made things difficult for the peddlers and passers-by. Ha ha ha. Feng Zi, you are just like this. No wonder you embarrass yourself. 3 times you visit the Dragon's Gate and get slapped in the face 3 times. When Yi Chen spoke, he did not hold back at all. He did not give Feng Zi any face at all, continuously provoking Feng Zi. Feng Zi felt very sullen. Several times, he could not help wanting to execute the innate martial technique of the royal clan. If this continues, when will it end? We can't do business anymore. Why are the Dragon's Gate's law enforcement team not here yet? What's the point of coming? These two are major characters with significant backgrounds. Even the older generation emperor, Wu, could not suppress them. If not for the restrictions in the city, these two would have torn down half the street already. The spectators enjoyed watching. However, the peddlers complained endlessly, feeling incredibly depressed. Fighting is prohibited in Heaven Dragon City. If anyone is dissatisfied, they will be dealt with according to the Dragon's Gate's rules. Just at this moment, a clear voice came from the distance, containing an unquestionable might. The city lord is here. The city lord is finally here. This is great. Upon hearing this voice, someone immediately cheered in joy. Some of the cultivators watching the excitement quickly shifted their gazes in the direction of the voice. They wanted to see how beautiful this legendary, beautiful city lord was. The two, who were in an intense fight, were not willing to stop, so they ignored this voice. Bang! A flame as bright as the sun directly landed between Yi Chen and Feng Zi. A loud sound rang out, and the flame exploded. The strong explosion forcibly interrupted Yi Chen and Feng Zi's fight. It was not over yet. The instant the light exploded, a vague white figure flickered and sent out 2 palm strikes. Yi Chen and Feng Zi executed their various moves, but the 2 palm strikes still struck them. Blood leaked out of a corner of their lips as they went flying. Hee hee. Elder sister Mo Chen, After not seeing you for 2 years, you have become even more powerful. Yichen wiped off the blood from his lips and watched as the flame scattered. The radiant Emo-chun, who looked like a fairy descending to the mortal realm, looked like she did not care. As for Feng Zi, this palm strike calmed him down, so he regulated his breathing and treated his injuries. How beautiful! No wonder the Blue Dragon King was willing to jump off his emperor's road for her. If it were me, I would jump as well. Scram. Not everyone is worthy of City Lord Mo's protection. Furthermore, back then, the Blue Dragon King did not jump off his emperor's road just for the city lord. Tisk. Why is there a need to be so loyal? If it were me, I would not jump. If not, I would not be in such a miserable state now. Even my name is nearly forgotten. That's true. Raging to the sky and dyeing it red, it looks like he is loyal. However, he let down so many Holy Lord Kings, and the group of Emperor Wu Kings who died while protecting him. That jump was very shocking. Even after 5 years, the Blue Dragon King's name was nearly forgotten. However, on his Emperor's road, Xiao Chen's final move was still unavoidable. After removing her veil, Emo-chun was so beautiful that no one dared to look at her directly. Her title as the top beauty of the Cloud Sea domain back then was not false at all. Now that she advanced to Martial Emperor, she looked even more elegant. She gave off an inviolable feeling of holiness and holiness. Feng Zi, what are you doing here? Emo-chun shouted coldly with a frown as she looked at Feng Zi. Feng Zi replied indifferently, I'm here to look for Xiao Chun. In the Sky Dome realm, I swore to fight him again after I advanced to Martial Emperor. Emo-chun turned her head and asked Yichen, what about you? Yichen giggled and said, what a coincidence. I'm here to look for brother Xiao Chun as well. Emo-chun said calmly, I already said that big brother Xiao Chun is not in Heaven Dragon City. 3 years ago, after I advanced to Martial Emperor, I left and have not returned yet. I, Feng Zi, will not give up until I see Xiao Chen's people. I will definitely come to visit again 1 year from now. After saying that, Feng Zi turned into a strong wind and left, disappearing without a trace. After the crowd dispersed, Yichen and Emo-chun rushed to the City Lord's residence. Yichen asked seriously, City Lord Emo, there are no outsiders here now. Tell me where brother Xiao Chun is. I have something to discuss with him. When Emo-chun heard this, a complicated expression appeared on her pretty face. After a while she sighed softly, I don't know where he is either. Before he left, he only said one thing to me. What did he say? Yichen asked out of curiosity. After he finds his Tao, he will appear on his own. He told us not to worry, Emo-chun replied softly. She could still remember the scene of their parting that day. She had seen her take off her veil with her own eyes. After 2 years of silence, Xiao Chun revealed a rare smile and spoke. It was rare for him to speak, but the moment he did, it was a parting. Emo-chun thought that if not for wanting to see her advance to Martial Emperor, Xiao Chun would have left long ago. However, 3 years passed in a flash, and there was still no news of Xiao Chun. Did he not return because he had not found his Tao? Chapter 1393. Where was Xiao Chun? What was his Tao? No one knew, and few paid attention to him, aside from his close friends. In this day and age, who would remember the unparalleled Blue Dragon King from 5 years ago? The one who suppressed the entire Kunlun realm's younger generation to the point that they could not even raise their heads? In the vast Tianwu domain of the Kunlun continent, there were 18 provinces in the south alone. Just one province was as large as the entire Great Qin nation of the Sky Dome realm. The original Supreme Sky Province was the most prosperous province among the 18 provinces in the south. However, the war between the deity Dao Union and the Haotian sect turned this Haotian province into a barren land. After the war, many mountains and rivers changed. The tall mountains were flattened, the cities turned into desolate plains, and the plains turned into deserts. There were also many aggrieved spirits of those who died in the war lingering in this wasteland. No matter how one looked at it, this place was no longer suitable for long-term habitation. After the war, Zongtian used his supreme strength to make the entire Haotian city soar into the sky, moving the entire sect away from the Haotian province. This wasteland had not been inhabited for a long time, turning even more desolate. The original Meteor Trail city was now a graveyard, burying a large number of Emperor Wu's, an even larger number of blue-robed emperors and martial sages. All of the 5 major races, the humans, the fiend race, the ghost race, the corpse race, and the deity race, had left countless corpses here. Now this was the only place in the entire Haotian province that had any human activity. Often, the relatives, friends, and disciples of the dead would come to pay their respects. The sky above Meteor Trail City was always scarlet, and the light was dim. Occasionally, a flock of blood crows flew in the sky. Rumor had it that they were formed by the sins of the Blue Dragon King, Shaochen. If one wanted to pay their respects here, one had to be careful. These blood crows were extremely dangerous. Even the greater heavenly emperor, Wu, would find it hard to escape if he got entangled by them. There was even an extremely horrifying example of the greater heavenly emperor, Wu, being eaten alive by the blood crows. On this particular day, a group of human cultivators came to Meteor Trail City with offerings. There were 3 men and 2 women. Other than the leader, who was a lesser celestial emperor Wu, the strongest among the 4 was only a blue-robed emperor. Brother Feng, a large flock of blood crows just flew past. We have 4 hours to pay our respects to Master. A skinny man, who had gone to scout the situation, came back with agility and said to the leader. His face was still a little childish. The man in the lead was called Ling Feng. He had a handsome appearance and appeared to be in his 30s. At such a young age, he had already reached the cultivation of Emperor Wu at the first layer of heaven. He should be a rising star of the Golden Age. There were many similar rising stars in this Golden Age. Before they became martial emperors, they were unknown. After they became martial emperors, they shocked the world with a single brilliant feat. Brother Feng, can we go in now? A girl said with tears in her eyes. Today is my father's death anniversary. It's getting dark. I don't want to miss it. The other companions all looked at Ling Feng as well. Clearly, they all saw him as their leader. Ling Feng did not say anything as he stood on the rubble. He casually picked up his saber and looked to the west. In that extremely distant sky, the setting sun could be vaguely seen under the blood clouds. Let's wait a little longer. Recently, demon cultivators have been coming to kill blood crows. It will not be good if we run into them. Although Ling Feng was young, he was unusually calm. Little Six, go and take a look around. Remember to be careful. Right, I'll listen to Brother Feng. Little Six giggled and left in a flash. Brother Feng, with your strength, there is no need for you to fear those demon cultivators. Even the 3rd Heaven Emperor Wu is not a match for you. No matter how many demon cultivators come, they will all die. Indeed, even the outstanding talent of our Tianwu domain, by Wuxia, said that you are the most talented bladesman in the Tianwu domain, no weaker than the Saber Sovereign's descendant. However, Ling Feng's companions did not think so. They were very confident in Ling Feng's strength. Ling Feng smiled and did not say anything. He had seen true experts before and knew the difference between himself and those older generation bladesmen. Ling Feng would not belittle his talent or look down on himself. He would not be arrogant or overestimate himself. As for the demon cultivators, as long as they were not from the demonic world's royal clan, Ling Feng would not fear them. It was better to be safe than sorry. It was best to be more cautious when dealing with things. 1 hour later, when the sky was about to turn completely dark, Little Six returned and did not see any demon cultivators. Ling Feng took the lead and said decisively, "Let's go. We only have 1 hour. Let's be fast." No, there is still 1 hour before the blood crows arrive, right? Be careful. I feel that something is wrong. Ling Feng did not turn his head back or explain too much. After a while, Ling Feng stopped and looked to the front in a daze. A shocking graveyard lay in front. In the dim light, many tombstones stood erect in the strong wind. The scarlet clouds in the sky covered all the tombstones with a faint scarlet light. From a distance, it looked like many bloody graves erected in the rubble. When the wind blew, it brought with it a cold and desolate feeling. One could even vaguely hear the anguished wails of aggrieved spirits hidden in the wind. The group walked forward and strolled through the graveyard. The funeral inscriptions on the tombstones were very startling. The grave of my father Lu Shui. At the invitation of his good friend, the Supreme Sky Prime, he came to protect the Supreme Sky sect and died protecting Xiaoqun. My master, Dongfeng Jing, died protecting Xiaoqun at the invitation of his good friend, the Haotian Prime. Uncle Bai Wu died protecting Xiaoqun. The deity Dao Yunyan's Zhangfeng and the Sixth Heaven Emperor Wu died in the chaotic battle because of Xiaoqun's tribulation. Died protecting Xiaoqun. Died protecting Xiaoqun in the chaotic battle because of Xiaoqun's tribulation. Xiaoqun. Xiaoqun. Every tombstone had the words Xiaoqun written in fresh blood. Fresh blood represented inauspiciousness, hatred, and rage. Hatred, inauspiciousness, and rage seemed to be the silent criticism of Xiaoqun from the cultivators buried here. Although this was not Ling Feng's first time here, he was still shocked. He found it hard to imagine that so many Emperor Wu would die because of one person. It was even harder to imagine that when only one step remained on the Emperor's road, the Blue Dragon King, who was like the sun in the sky back then, would jump off the Emperor's road without a care for his own safety. What kind of person was that? We have arrived at Master's grave. The group stopped before a grave. The tombstone had the words, Grave of my father Lu Yuan. He died protecting Xiaoqun. When the girl beside Ling Feng saw the tombstone, she could no longer hold back the tears in her eyes. The others here were all disciples of the tombstone's master. They all felt incredibly heavy, finding it hard to control themselves. Master's death was not worth it. He died protecting a heartless person. Even if it was just pushing open the Emperor's door, he would not have let down Master's kind intentions. However, this person jumped off at the last step. Clearly, the disciples of the deceased hated Xiaoqun so much that they were not even willing to mention his name. Ling Feng frowned heavily and looked around. Then he said, Time's up. We have to go. Elder brother Feng, let me accompany father for a while longer, the deceased's daughter, Lu Yun, pleaded as she looked at Ling Feng. Ling Feng could not bear to look at the girl's gaze. He sighed and said, Stay a while longer then. 15 minutes later, the group finished paying their respects. Just as they were about to leave, the caws of crows rang out in the sky. Blood crows. The expressions of the five changed at the same time. Why were there blood crows flying over at this moment? Ling Feng squinted and looked up. Indeed, as he expected, there was a man chasing after 4 or 5 blood crows, laughing maniacally. As the man got closer, the demonic qi on his body became increasingly obvious. This was a demonic world blood demon cultivator. Wuxia. A scarlet light shot out and pierced through the bodies of the 5 blood crows. Strands of sin spread out and poured into the blood demon's body, which he calmly refined. That's great. After refining some more sin, my blood fiend art will advance to the next layer. The blood demon laughed maniacally. Suddenly, his gaze swept around and landed on Ling Feng's group. Ling Feng also happened to see the purple mark on this person's forehead. His heart immediately sank. A demonic world royal clan disciple. Chapter 1394. What a coincidence. I have been here for half a year, but this is my first time seeing a human cultivator. I wonder what your blood tastes like. The blood demon revealed a cruel smile as he turned into a beam of scarlet light and charged at Ling Feng. In his opinion, of the 5 people here, only Ling Feng posed a threat. However, it was just a little. Ling Feng was just a first heaven Emperor Wu. Who knew how many he had killed? Let's go. I'll block him first. With one glance, Ling Feng could tell that he was not a match for this person. Their cultivations were 2 grades lower. The other party was a 3rd heaven Emperor Wu. Furthermore, he was a demonic world royal clan genius. His talent was definitely not low. In a situation where one's talent and aptitude were equal, cultivation became the only standard to compare one's battle prowess. Ling Feng was confident of fighting to a draw. If the other party was 2 grades higher, he could only last 100 moves at most. However, if these junior brothers and sisters could escape far enough, he would be able to retreat after enduring 50 moves. Ling Feng drew his saber. As the scarlet light shot out, he swung his saber. A surging saber intent spread out on his saber, kicking up a boundless wind. This saber strike was incredibly berserk, materializing the mysterious phenomenon of a storm. 9 scarlet storms appeared in the sky behind Ling Feng. Bang! The scarlet light scattered, and the blood demon revealed himself. Blood leaked out of a corner of his lips. The blood demon flew up and landed on a tombstone. Shock flashed in his eyes. There's no need to leave. This demon is not a match for elder brother Feng. Upon seeing this scene, Ling Feng's junior brothers and sisters rejoiced. They thought that Ling Feng had injured the blood demon, so they turned around and charged over. Come back! This scene frightened Ling Feng badly. He anxiously shouted at the top of his lungs. Ling Feng had already used 70% of his strength, but he only barely managed to push back a casual move. The difference was clear. However, these junior brothers and sisters were too discerning and could not tell. Interesting. How lucky. To think that I met a human outstanding talent. Your blood is probably very delicious. It can even help me advance further. The blood demon on the tombstone did not even look at the people flying towards him. Then he casually grabbed with both hands. Pussy. The 2 people flying towards him immediately got their chests pierced through. Both of their eyes were wide open, and their faces were twisted in pain. They died with everlasting regret. Xiaochen loosened his grip, and the 2 of them fell to the ground with a loud thud, no longer breathing. The other 3 turned pale with fright and flew in different directions. The blood tribe man didn't care about them anymore. He only had Ling Feng in his eyes. There was a wild glint in his eyes, like an animal looking at its prey, flickering with a cold glint. Still not leaving? Are you trying to create time for your companions to leave? If that's the case, then you're too confident. 5 moves from me is your limit. The man from the blood tribe sneered as a blood-colored longsword appeared in his hand. When the sword was unsheathed, a blood-colored sword radiance filled the air and buzzed. Rumble. Along the way, the tombstones exploded. Corpses and bones flew everywhere in the air, creating a mess. The blood tribe man transformed into a streak of crimson light, and flew over with his sword. This sword strike was simple and crude, using his advantage in speed and strength to stab at Ling Feng's heart. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, Ling Feng held his saber horizontally in front of his chest, and with a clang he was sent flying. His arm went numb, and he almost dropped his saber. When he looked at the blood tribe man again, a trace of fear appeared in his eyes. Not bad. You took a strike with 60% of my strength, and your saber still hasn't dropped. If you reach my level of cultivation with your talent, I might not be your match. The blood tribe man said calmly with a long sword in his hand. Whoosh! Ling Feng recognized the situation, and tragically discovered that he had underestimated this person's strength. Determination flashed in his eyes as he turned around and left. Do you think you can escape? The blood tribe man's eyes flashed with a hint of mockery as he followed unhurriedly. Of the 2, one was chasing and the other was fleeing. The vampire was completely toying with Ling Feng. Just when he was given a sliver of hope, it would be ruthlessly extinguished. In less than an hour, Ling Feng was already covered in cuts and bruises. He was exhausted both physically and mentally, and he was in an extremely sorry state. Ha ha ha, don't run anymore. Obediently become my food, and I will let you die without any pain. The blood tribe man laughed uncontrollably with a malevolent expression. In this boundless graveyard he looked exceptionally terrifying. Damn it! Damn it, if I had another year, I wouldn't have to be in such a hurry. Ling Feng vomited a mouthful of blood. As he looked at this boundless graveyard, he felt despair. He had just advanced to martial emperor. His glory had just begun. In this golden age he still had to stand out. Was he really going to die here? Where am I? In his panic, Ling Feng suddenly felt his entire body tremble as a chill swept through him. He turned his head and saw a pair of scarlet lights flickering above the graves for 50 kilometers around him. They looked like blood crows. Startled awake, Ling Feng nearly fell to the ground in fright. Those flickering scarlet lights were the eyes of the blood crows. Pairs of eyes, thousands of them, were all staring at him. Chapter 1395. This saber strike truly shocked Ling Feng, a bladesman of the younger generation. He had never seen such a magnificent saber light in his life. The scene of 10,000 crows soaring and the saber light lighting up the entire space was unforgettable. The sound of the horse moving along with the war chariot slowly startled Ling Feng awake. Then he shouted in the chariot, "Senior, will you tell me your great name?" This junior is Ling Feng, also a bladesman. The war chariot gave off the melodious sound of wind chimes as it sped along, showing no intention of stopping. Ling Feng wanted to continue chasing, but an invisible force blocked him. "I cannot remain here for too long. If fate permits, we will meet again." A sentence came from the war chariot, pleasantly surprising Ling Feng. Ling Feng shouted, "Senior, remember my name. I am Ling Feng." After a while, Ling Feng understood why the senior on the war chariot said that he could not remain here for long. He saw densely packed blood crows flying out from all directions, in the sky and on the ground. They formed flocks and flapped their wings, chasing after the war chariot with all their might. It looked like a thick blood cloud that was trying to swallow the war chariot alive. Buzz! Suddenly Ling Feng felt the sky move. When he looked up, he was horrified to discover that the blood clouds for 500,000 kilometers above Meteor Trail City condensed continuously, turning into an incredibly horrifying blood crow that also chased after the war chariot. The scene before Ling Feng frightened him silly. He muttered to himself, "What exactly is the background of this blue dragon King Xiaochun? To think that he is so sinful. Oh no, I wonder if my junior brothers and sisters managed to escape." Thinking of this, Ling Feng quickly executed his movement technique and weaved through the graves, leaving Meteor Trail City at lightning speed. After Ling Feng left the city, he saw his 3 junior brothers and sisters anxiously waiting for him in the distance. He pushed off the ground and descended. "Elder brother Feng, you are fine. That's great. Did brother Feng kill that demon cultivator?" Xiao Chen's junior brothers and sisters asked one after another. Ling Feng shook his head and said, "That demon is a royal disciple of the blood demon monarch's bloodline. His cultivation is much higher than mine. I can't kill him." "Doesn't that mean he is not dead yet? We have to leave quickly." "No need, he's already dead." Ling Feng then told them what he had seen in the endless tomb. The scene was still fresh in his memory. Even now, his heart still pounded when he talked about it. "It's the shadowless saber sovereign. Elder brother Feng, you are talking about the shadowless saber sovereign. How unfortunate. If we had known that the shadowless saber sovereign was here, junior brother Zhang and junior brother Lu would not have to die." When the 3 of them heard Ling Feng's explanation, they quickly replied. Ling Feng quickly asked, "Do you know this senior?" The pretty Lu Yun said, "Of course we do. Elder brother Feng, you have been in closed-door cultivation for the past few years, preparing to undergo your great tribulation of wind and fire. You just came out not long after advancing to martial emperor, so you might not know. However, we have long heard of the shadowless saber sovereign's name." Ling Feng was somewhat agitated, losing most of his usual composure. "Quick, tell me, who exactly is this senior? This shadowless saber sovereign is also someone who suddenly appeared in this golden age. About 3 years ago, a bladesman riding a black war chariot roamed the 5 domains of the Kunlun realm, challenging the famous bladesmen of the various races. No matter how strong they were, as long as they were a slightly famous bladesman, he would pay them a visit. Because this mysterious person never got off the war chariot, he only controlled his saber from a distance and fought with others. No one had seen his true appearance, so he was called the shadowless saber sovereign. Later, his reputation grew. Controlling his saber from a distance, he fought to a draw with the 6th Heaven Emperor Wu Bladesman. Thus, the name Shadowless Saber Sovereign was well deserved. After that, one could become a sovereign martial emperor. Although this person was at the bottom of sovereign martial emperors, he was still a bona fide sovereign martial emperor. Just by controlling his saber from a distance, this senior could fight to a draw with the 6th Heaven Martial Emperor. The title of Shadowless Saber Sovereign was indeed well-deserved, not false at all. Ling Feng thought to himself. Furthermore, he had seen that saber strike earlier. Now, he had a rough understanding of this mysterious Shadowless Saber Sovereign's strength. Speaking of which, he is so strong. Why would he fight with some bladesmen with lower cultivations? Is he not afraid of lowering his status? Ling Feng asked, feeling somewhat suspicious. Bladesmen all had their pride. Bullying the weak was very shameless. Lu Yun smiled and said, Elder Brother Feng, you don't know this. This shadowless saber sovereign is very low profile and humble. Even if Xiao Chen met a bladesman with a much lower cultivation than him, he would show sufficient respect and courtesy. In his opinion, as long as any bladesman has something unique about them, they are worthy of his admiration. Several bladesmen are eager to fight with this person. Every bladesman who fights with the shadowless saber sovereign will comprehend many things. Ling Feng's eyes lit up. His mind felt like it was filled with wisdom. He felt like he could see many things clearly. After a long time, Ling Feng sighed. This is a true saber sovereign. I am still far from it. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Just at this moment, 3 figures flew over from the distance. The leader wore snow-white clothes, and his long hair fluttered in the wind. From head to toe, he exuded a cold aura from his bones. However, his clear eyes were as calm as still water, neutralizing this bone-chilling and arrogant aura. He did not give off a feeling of pushing people away. Cold arrogance and gentleness were perfectly reflected in this person. The 2 people on his left and right had extraordinary auras as well. If there were people in the Tianwu domain who came earlier, they would immediately recognize these 2. One was the top bladesman of the 18 southern provinces, Feng Xingxing. The other was Shimen Bao, one of the 7 giants of the Tianwu domain. Big Brother Bai is here. Lu Yun exclaimed in pleasant surprise. I was afraid that something would happen to you in Meteor Trail City. After we came out, we lit up the smoke talisman that Big Brother Bai gave us. The Big Brother Bai that Lu Yun mentioned was Bai Wuxia. Ling Feng also admired this person from the bottom of his heart. During the Golden Age, the 3 holy masters of the human race sided with the deity race. Because of the Blue Dragon King Xiao Chen's matter, Xue Lingling was in closed-door cultivation, and Juanxi had gone to the distant starry heavens and had not returned yet. In this great age, there was not a single outstanding talent of the Tianwu domain that could truly hold the fort. Fortunately, at the crucial moment, Bai Wuxia stood out. Because of the battle between the Blue Dragon King and the White Bone Sovereign's descendant, when he was in his prime, he chose to retire and enter closed-door cultivation. This closed-door cultivation lasted for 8 years. When Bai Wuxia came out, the Golden Age had arrived. Amid the chaotic times, he stepped onto his Emperor's Road and successfully cleared his great tribulation of wind and fire. On that day, white snow drifted down, and ice sealed the land for 500,000 kilometers. 9,000 ice steps paved a heavenly ice Emperor's Road. The instant Bai Wuxia pushed open the Emperor's door, he unleashed his accumulations and underwent 3 consecutive lightning tribulations. From then on, Bai Wuxia rose rapidly, becoming the leader of the Tianwu domain's younger generation. Now he was already a 6th Heaven Martial Emperor. He was no weaker than Di Wuk. Under Bai Wuxia's leadership, the outstanding talents of the Tianwu domain united and formed the Water Moon Alliance to communicate and fight against the increasing number of demons in the Kunlun realm. After Ling Feng advanced to Martial Emperor, he also joined the Water Moon Alliance. The smoke talisman was the signal that the members of the Water Moon Alliance would use when they met with danger. Due to the 500,000 kilometers of scarlet clouds covering Meteor Trail City, outsiders would not be able to see the smoke talisman after it was lit. This was why Lu Yun and the others lit the smoke talisman after they left the city. Big Brother Bai, to think that you personally rushed over, Ling Feng said as he stepped forward and performed a cupped fist salute. Bai Wuxia smiled calmly and said, there are many strange things in Meteor Trail City. If ordinary people from the Water Moon Alliance came, I would not be able to deal with them. Furthermore, I received news that a group of demons will be entering the Tianwu domain's savage battlefield soon. I'm afraid that you will run into them. Sensing the sincere worry in Bai Wuxia's words, Ling Feng felt warmth in his heart. He thanked Bai Wuxia again and recounted his encounter in Meteor Trail City. I ran into the shadowless saber sovereign? No wonder I vaguely heard the sound of wind chimes. How unfortunate. I have always wanted to befriend this person, but I brushed past him again. Bai Wuxia was also very curious about the shadowless saber sovereign's identity, and really wanted to meet him. Oh right, how much does Big Brother Bai know about the Blue Dragon King Xiao Chen? After seeing the various scenes in the Boundless Grave, Bai Wuxia was very curious about this person of the past. The moment Bai Wuxia said that, the expressions of Feng Xingxing and Shimen Bao changed slightly. However, now that 10-odd years had passed, Bai Wuxia had already become very indifferent to the grudges between him and Xiao Chen. After advancing to Martial Emperor, Bai Wuxia's horizons and mental state had improved significantly. However, when Bai Wuxia heard Ling Feng's question, the expression in his eyes still became rather complicated. When Bai Wuxia came out of closed-door cultivation, he had been in a rush to fight with Xiao Chen again. However, after hearing about Xiao Chen's deeds, he sighed and felt very sad. I have interacted with him many times, but I have never truly understood him. There are not many people in this world who understand him. At the very least, I do not. As for the person who left the deepest impression on me, I can only say that he is a true bladesman. After thinking for a long time, Bai Wuxia said such a thing. The person with such overwhelming sins, the one who forced Senior Shadowless Saber Sovereign to stay far away, was actually a bladesman as well. Ling Feng shook his head in disbelief. Chapter 1396. Ling Feng had sufficient reason not to believe it. If such a sinful person could become a bladesman, it would be a stain on bladesmen. A true bladesman should be a senior like the Shadowless Saber Sovereign, possessing outstanding strength and being humble and low profile. If it wasn't for that person, Master wouldn't have died, and Junior Sister wouldn't be so sad. He would be able to share the joy of becoming a martial emperor with his most respected seniors. However, because of the Blue Dragon King, he could only dream about it. Ling Feng didn't show his hatred for Blue Dragon King Xiao Chen on his face like his junior brothers and sisters did. However, deep in his heart, he had always remembered this person. It was just that he had buried his hatred deep in his heart. Ling Feng shook his head and stopped thinking about the Blue Dragon King. Then he changed the topic and asked, "Oh right, Big Brother Bai, you just said that some demons will be heading to the savage battlefield soon. The Water Moon Alliance will be going as well, right?" Bai Wuxia nodded and said, "Naturally. I heard that there will be a highness among this group of demons. However, it is not clear which bloodline of the 18 demon monarchs will come. The Abyss Demon World had a total of 18 demon monarchs. Each demon monarch had their own direct bloodline. These direct bloodline descendants were collectively known as the Demon World's royal descendants. The royal clan disciples of each bloodline would form their own faction. For example, the royal clan disciples of the Blood Demon Monarch's bloodline formed the Blood Demon Palace. As for Her Highness, she was the most talented and had the highest status among the descendants of the royal family. She was also the future Demon Emperor, equivalent to the Crown Prince of the human world. "What? Are you coming with us?" Bai Wuxia asked. Ling Feng nodded and asked, "Can I?" Bai Wuxia smiled and said, "Of course you can, but I can't guarantee your safety if you go. You have to think carefully." Ling Feng said resolutely, "I've thought it through very clearly. Big Brother Bai, although you said that my talent is no weaker than the Saber Sovereign's descendant, when Xiren, today's battle made me understand. If one's cultivation base isn't high, no matter how talented one is, it's all in vain. Alright, then I'll count you in. With your talent, it can only be fully developed in a life or death battle. Come with me to the Water Moon Alliance." After the group agreed, they quickly left Meteor Trail City. 1 hour later, after this group of people had gone far away, 2 black flood dragons pulled a black war chariot in the sky above Meteor Trail City. They passed through layers of scarlet clouds and landed on the ground. After they landed, the 2 ferocious flood dragons immediately turned into black horses and meekly lowered their heads. Bai Wuxia Shimen Bao Feng Xingxing, long time no see. It turns out that you already advanced to Martial Emperor. Inside the black war chariot with 7 divine weapons stuck in it, the mysterious Shadowless Saber Sovereign muttered to himself as he looked in the direction the group of people left in. It was like he was recalling something. "Brother Bai, Do you still want to stay in Meteor Trail City for a while? In the chariot, a mirror appeared beside the mysterious man. A thumb-sized girl sat on the mirror, her hand supporting her head as she asked, "I'm not going. This person is covered in sin, and is getting more and more difficult to deal with. The stronger I become, the stronger they become. There's no end to killing them, no end to destroying them." Naturally, the so-called shadowless saber sovereign was Xiao Chun. Every year at this time he would make a trip to Meteor Trail City. He would come and take a look at the words Xiao Chun written in blood on the countless gravestones. In Xiao Chun's life, he had never regretted anything. However, the great tribulation of wind and fire 5 years ago made him regret it for life. Too much guilt became a knot in his heart, tormenting him. Just like now, the Black War Chariot was like a cage trapping him. The knot in his heart was an invisible cage trapping his heart. He had long since wanted to eliminate all the sin in the sky. Every time he came, his strength would double. However, those sins would grow stronger as well. It was like the sin would never disappear. Only when he died would these sins disappear. Although the sins in the sky did not affect him now, Xiao Chun had a vague feeling that if he kept them around, they would eventually lead to a great disaster. Where are we going now? Gentle Cloud City. There is a bladesman there. Rumor has it that he has his own unique understanding of dual sabers. The horses galloped and the wheels rolled. The Black War Chariot was like a ghost. It disappeared in a flash in the dark night, heading in the direction of Gentle Cloud City. Inside the war chariot, Xiao Chun did not remain idle. He circulated the Purple Thunder divine incantation and continuously cultivated. Back then, although his emperor's road was broken, the Purple Emperor's door entered his heart of an emperor. Xiao Chun's path of the martial Tao did not fall into despair because his emperor's road shattered, and he took another path. The instant the emperor's door entered Xiao Chun's body, it was like some kind of lock in his body broke. Some of the laws that restricted a cultivator for a long time no longer existed. For example, the absorption of primordial energy. Xiao Chun clearly had not advanced to martial emperor, but his body could contain more than 100 strands of primordial energy. Now that 5 years had passed, the primordial energy in his heart of an emperor had already reached 1,000 strands, comparable to the fifth heaven Emperor Wu. However, compared to the regular Emperor Wu, Xiao Chun did not have an emperor's soul, or the golden body of Emperor Wu. Xiao Chun himself did not know what he was doing now. He was currently walking a path that no one had taken before. No one knew where the end would be. Fortunately, Xiao Chun's bladesman's heart had not changed. He just needed to follow this heart and move forward. Ever since the moment Xiao Chun jumped off his emperor's road, the mysterious Purple Emperor's door in his heart of an emperor had instinctively opened a crack. After that, no matter how hard Xiao Chun worked, even with his current cultivation, he could not push open this emperor's door at all. It was not that Xiao Chun's cultivation was insufficient. Instead, there was a formless resistance preventing him from pushing open this emperor's door. Sometimes, Xiao Chun wondered if the Kunlun Realm's Emperor's Road was a plot of the heavenly Tao. The instant Xiao Chun pushed open the Emperor's door in reality, he closed another door, the door to leave the Kunlun Realm. Ding, 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 ding. Just at this moment, the Black War Chariot suddenly stopped. The 7 divine weapons trembled endlessly, linking together and giving off melodious and cold chimes. Xiao Chun did not open his eyes. 50 kilometers away, a blurry figure walked towards him step by step. Boom! This person exuded a strong saber intent. As if he was mocking Xiao Chun, he unleashed his saber intent. The 7 divine weapons trembled even more intensely as if they sensed the strength of this person. On the other hand, Xiao Chun remained incredibly calm. His expression did not change at all. For the past 5 years, he had challenged various bladesmen. Many older generation saber emperors had fallen to his saber. His heart of a bladesman had already undergone a metamorphosis. To Xiao Chun, these 5 years were as long as several decades. As his heart of a bladesman evolved, it had been tempered by the passage of time, gaining an air of vicissitudes. After seeing this many times, Xiao Chun could naturally remain calm even if Mount Tai collapsed before him. Whoosh! The black-clad bladesman in front suddenly vanished, disappearing without a trace in the dark night. Xiao Chun pointed with his finger, and the unbeatable saber at the very front of the war chariot gave off a dull thud as it quickly shot out. Dang! A resounding clang resounded in the dark night, like a thunderclap on a clear day, ear-splitting. A figure was forced out of the air. After he landed, he moved back 100 steps. The unsheathed divine weapon was sheathed once more. The world regained its calm as if nothing had happened. Xiao Chun opened his eyes and focused his gaze on the person who arrived. Being able to receive an attack from him was already sufficient for him to remember this person. When Xiren, the person who arrived, was actually the saber sovereign Wu Xiaoyan's descendant, When Xiren. The shadowless saber sovereign truly lives up to his reputation. It looks like I did not find the wrong person, When Xiren said with a smile as he sheathed his saber. How did you find me? An aged voice came from the war chariot. It was Xiao Chun who had changed his tone. As long as it is a bladesman, there is no one that I cannot find, When Xiren said confidently. 2 months from now, there will be a saber Dao tea party. I hope that you will be able to come. This will be the first saber Dao tea party of the Golden Age. A golden invitation gently flew out from When Xiren's hand. Then it flew increasingly faster, carrying a wanton sharpness and a boundless strong wind. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.